Pro Vice Chancellor and Principal, Professor the Most Honorable Udine Barato, Campus Registrar, Mr. Romel Carter, President of the Guild, Ms. Tasha Luton, Deans, Heads, colleagues, students, good evening and welcome to this Students' Town Hall. I want to thank you for choosing to pursue your higher education studies here at the UWI Cave-Hill campus, and I want to wish you all the best for this upcoming semester. Globally, every single person, institution, and country has been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. As we get accustomed to life with COVID-19, the campus is committed to delivering quality education in these dynamic times. As many of you may be aware by now, the UWI Cave-Hill campus has adopted a hybrid approach to delivery. That is, teaching and assessments will be delivered both online and simultaneously face-to-face, with face-to-face sessions adhering to the current COVID-19 protocols as it pertains to sanitization and physical distancing. Our priority is the health and safety of our students and staff, and the campus is guided by national protocols in addition to international health guidelines. Tonight, our goal is to inform you about the national guidelines in relation to COVID-19, discuss how the campus is adjusting its services to keep you safe, and address any questions that you may have. I would also like to take this opportunity to invite all new students to the matriculation ceremony scheduled for tomorrow, the 4th of September 2020 at 6 p.m. The ceremony this year will be a virtual one, so you can still dress up in your finest wear, but you will proceed to your dining room table rather than the Roy Marshall Teaching Complex. In relation to the protocol for this evening, please allow the members of the panel to make their presentations, and then we will have the question and answer session. For those of you following on Zoom, please post the questions in the Q&A box. If you're following on Facebook or YouTube, you can use the comment feature. I would now ask each member of the panel to introduce themselves. First, starting with the deans of the various faculties. May I start with Professor Ochien Odiambo?
Thank you, Deputy Principal. As you've been told, my name is Professor Frederick Ochien Odiambo, and I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Education. And I look forward to interacting with all of you. Thank you.
Dean David Okombo.
Thank you very much, Deputy Principal. My name is David Akombo. I'm the Dean of the newest faculty at Cave-Hill, the Faculty of Culture, Creative and Performing Arts. We were launched on August the 1st, a very important day for Barbadians, and we are very excited to all students who have chosen to come and study in our faculty. And I look forward to interacting with you and guiding you in your pursuit for higher knowledge and artistic creativity and cultural exploration. So thank you for choosing Cave-Hill.
Dean Peter Adams.
Yes, thank you. I'm Peter Adams. I'm Dean of the Faculty of Medical Sciences. We offer MBBS 5-year undergraduate program, a Bachelor of Health Sciences undergraduate program, 10 Doctor of Medicine postgraduate programs, 3 Thought Masters, and several PhD programs. We look forward to welcoming you.
Dean Deputy.
Thank you, Deputy Principal. I am Colin Deputy, Dean of the Faculty of Science and Technology. Just like to thank you all for coming out this afternoon to hear what we have to say, and I look forward to seeing you throughout your academic life. Thank you.
Dean Lord.
Thank you, Deputy Principal. My name is Troy Lord. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences. We've just celebrated 45 years in existence. As I indicated to you at our orientation, we are dedicated to your future. I'm glad that you're here this evening to hear what we have to say to you. Thank you.
Dean Foster.
Hello, I'm Nicole Foster, the Interim Dean of the Law Faculty. And this year is a very special year for us because it is our 50th anniversary. We welcome you to Cave-Hill, and those of you who will be joining us in law, a special welcome to you.
The other members of the panel now include Campus Registrar, Mr. Romel Carter.
Good afternoon, students. My name is Romel Carter. I'm the Campus Registrar, and I look forward to navigating with you in your academic endeavors. Welcome.
Dr. Whitby Best.
Good afternoon, Kville family. I'm Dr. Tina Whitby Best. I'm the medical officer, and you will hear a little bit more from me later on. I head the Student Health Clinic.
Mr. Keith Innes.
Thank you, Deputy Principal. Good afternoon, students. I'm the Chief Information Officer of Campus Technology Services, and I look forward to providing you with your IT services.
Mr. Reed.
Thank you, Deputy Principal. I am Oral Reed. I'm your Director of Security Services. My role is to look after your safety and security and to make provision for such. Thank you.
Mr. Marshall.
Good afternoon and welcome, students. My name is David Marshall. I'm the Smart Campus Coordinator here at Kville, and I look forward to enhancing the services that we offer you to make this place a much more comfortable and welcoming and smarter place to be.
Ms. Bryan.
Thank you, Deputy Principal. Good evening, Cave Hill Blackbirds. Welcome to Cave Hill campus, and even special welcome to those students who will be joining us in our on-campus accommodation and our off-campus accommodation. I look forward to interacting with you this evening.
Prof. Robinson.
Hi, good evening. I'm Justin Robinson. I'm giving you a warm Cave Hill welcome as we navigate this exceptional year. Again, welcome to the Cave Hill campus.
Dr. Connell.
Good afternoon, students. My name is Kenneth Connell. I'm chair of the Campus Health and Medical Services Committee. I'm really excited to welcome you to Cave Hill campus. And I'm also slightly envious because there hasn't been a more exciting time for you to join us in higher education. Welcome.
Pat Atherley.
Good evening, Cave Hill Blackbirds. I am Pat Atherley. I am the Director of the Student Enrollment and Retention Unit. Among the many roles that we perform here at Cave Hill, we call ourselves the one-stop shop for student information and guidance. So we are the place you come when you're having challenges that you can't get resolved. And I'm sure that we've been interacting with quite a few of you already as you navigate this process of towards the start of the new academic year.
Ms. Lynch.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, a warm welcome to incoming students and a welcome back to our second and third year students and our continuing students. I am in charge of a range of services that support student success, and they comprise of a number of academic, wellness, and other support services. And I do look forward to hearing from you this afternoon.
Dr. Henry. Dr. Henry, you're muted.
Welcome, students. It's so wonderful to be here with you today. I am from what we call the CETL, which is really the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning. And we promote excellence in teaching with the intent that when our lecturers come before you, they are informed with respect to the best theories and practices in teaching and learning. And we also support student development by collaborating with various units across the campus. And we also work with the Guild of Students to award teachers who really promote your best development. That's the CETL Guild Award. So welcome, and I wish you a very productive session today.
Okay. Mr. Lovell.
Oh, good evening, students. Welcome to the Cave Hill campus. I'm Charleston Lovell, the Director of Campus of Marketing and Communications. I I do look forward to interacting with many of you during the rest of the academic year. Welcome to Cape Phil.
You'll hear from Ms. Lowton again, but Thatcher, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Absolutely no problem. So to our newly minted Blackbirds and our continuing students, I bring you greetings on behalf of the Guild of Students. Just want to let you know that this afternoon, I am here to represent my constituents, and I'm going to represent your interests as well.
And she always does. All right. There's one other person I did not introduce as yet, not because she's not very important, but because she's the first speaker on tonight's panel. It is therefore my pleasure to invite Pro Vice Chancellor and Principal Professor, the Most Honorable Udine Barreto, to make her presentation.
On mute. Good afternoon, students. It's a pleasure to be here. And let me just introduce myself. My name is Udine Barreto. I am a Grenadian national, a Barbadian citizen, and a Caribbean woman. And I come from I am a feminist scholar, and I come from a very dynamic Institute for Gender and Development Studies, the Nita Barrow unit. And whatever you do on the campus, make sure you take a course from the Nita Barrow unit, because it will stretch your mind and you will grow in ways that are incredible. I join all of my colleagues in welcoming you to the Caveville campus, a very beautiful, dynamic campus. Those of you who are returning will know the Caveville campus. Those of you who are coming for the first time, a very special welcome to you. Whether you're coming from Black Rock or Great Britain or Guyana or Grenada or Antigua or Africa, we are very, very pleased to have you with us. Now, you would see that on the first slide I have in the top right-hand corner, the symbol of COVID-19, because you are entering the Caveville campus at a very exceptional time, extraordinary time. We are running the Caveville campus in the midst of a global pandemic, and that shapes everything we do. Last year, around this time, we were very worried about Hurricane Dorian, devastating many parts of the Bahamas. And like what Caribbean people do all the time, the Bahamas picked itself up and shook itself off and kept on ticking with some challenges, but kept going. The same thing we are going to do at the Caveville campus and in the Caribbean. We have to live with this pandemic, but we are going to continue and ensure that we survive. Now, all I want to do in my very brief conversation with you is to share some information with you on how the campus plans to run the first semester of the academic year. We are beginning the new academic year, but we are deliberately taking it one semester at a time, because my management team and I, all of these persons who have been working assiduously and extremely hard on your behalf, including Ms. Thatcher Lowton, your very dynamic guild president, we have planned a number of things for you, but we want to, at the end of this semester, evaluate and see what has worked, if the national environment has changed, and how are we going to go into semester 2. So although we are very much aware that this is the new academic year, we are in fact taking it a semester at a time. What we are also going to do this afternoon is share with you our expectations of you. And as your principal, the first thing that I want to say to you in the context of COVID, because you are going to school in the context of a global pandemic, we are expecting full compliance with all the rules and regulations of the Caveville campus and the University of the West Indies that have been designed for your safety and the safety of everyone. When Dr. Connell speaks, he will go into greater detail, but our expectations of you are that you will comply. We also want to share information about the campus and the national environment, because the Cave Hill campus exists in Barbados and we are governed by the laws of Barbados. And the very first thing that you have to recognize under the laws of Barbados is that we are actually conducting the business of the campus. The country is being run under the National Public Health Emergency Act. This act was passed in March 2020, and it gives the government of Barbados wide-ranging powers. Many of the things we do are out of respect for the act. We appreciate that the government of Barbados is working very hard to keep us safe as a country, to keep the campus and the wider community safe, and we have every intention of complying with that. We also want you to appreciate the special environment of the Cave Hill campus. What do I mean by that? Well, the Cave Hill campus is a learning community. We have students who come here to do a range of degrees, just as you are, whether it's an undergraduate or postgraduate or a certificate or a short course. So that means we are a learning community. But we are also a residential community, which means that the Cave Hill campus is home for some of you. Some of you actually live on the Cave Hill campus. And the Cave Hill campus is an employment community. A lot of us work on the Cave Hill campus and we go to our respective homes at the end of the day. So those combination of those features creates a unique environment, because whereas other places of work shut at the end of the day, we, unlike those places, we are almost, you can say 24 hours. We are like the Queen Elizabeth Hospital or some state institutions, because when persons go home, the students are in their dorms and there are persons who are studying late at night, and that creates a special environment. You will hear a lot of the focus on health and safety, and you will hear a lot of, we also have a particular focus on the quality of your educational experience. And besides the deans of the faculties who are very eager to share with you what your programs would be like, you have heard from Dr. Sylvia Henry from the Center in Excellence in Teaching and Learning, whose remit and mandate is to look over the pedagogical strategies for the delivery of your educational goods and services. We have stated that we are educating you this semester in the hybrid format, which means both face-to-face and online. In some cases, some programs or classes may only be face-to-face, and you will know and hear of those. Now, have we ever done hybrid delivery before? No. We have done face-to-face and we have done fully online last semester when the country was shut down. Will there be some hiccups? Yes. Do we have the expertise to offer the hybrid? Yes. How do we know? Because we are accustomed doing the face-to-face, and we have demonstrated that we could do online, but the combination, we are working through that, and we recognize the campus is a very fluid, dynamic environment because of COVID. So we ask you to bear that in mind. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, if you have the manual on how to run a campus during a COVID-19 pandemic, I will give you my salary this month in exchange for that manual. So because we are looking at the rules and making them up as we go to end. But the first thing we put in front is what is the best thing to guarantee your well-being and the quality of your educational experience. So welcome and thank you for being here. And I also want to say that I want you to pause and appreciate that what we are experiencing as a campus, the entire Caribbean region and the world is experiencing. So you are very fortunate to be at university. You may not feel that way because you can't get the class and you didn't see this and you didn't see that, but step back a bit, because at the end of this process, for some of you, 2023, you'll have that degree in hand. For the medical students, it will be 2025. I give you my full assurance that the entire campus community will do its very best to enrich your experience and to ensure that you are safe. But we are asking you to work with us and fully comply with all the rules and regulations, because you don't want to see another side of your very friendly, principal who is just here to support you. But thank you very much and welcome. Thank you, Deputy Principal.
Thank you very much. There was one other person on the panel that I did not introduce, Professor Mbana. Can you introduce yourself? If he's here with us. I don't see him here, so I'll move on to the next speaker. Thank you very much, Principal, for that welcome. It is now my pleasure to introduce the President of the Guild, Ms. Tasha Lowton.
Deputy Principal, I'm going to charge you, you know. If I'm not pronouncing my name correctly. It has been,
no.
I've been at Kevin 3 years.
But I've
so worked with you for an entire.
But I don't call you by your
properly.
last name at all. I just call you by your first name. So I can't call you by your first name in this forum. So my apologies.
All right, but to our newly minted Blackbirds and to our continuing students, I am Thatcher Lowton, President of the Guild of Students for the academic year 2020-2021. Indeed a privilege and a pleasure to bring you greetings on behalf of the Council 2020-2021. I must start it off by saying thanks to all administration and thanks to the campus. I'm actually in quarantine, so I'm presenting from quarantine. It's very much comfortable. It's very much private, and so thanks so much to all administration for making this sacrifice for us and for the other students. I must also take the opportunity to congratulate and welcome all students who have been admitted in the various campus, the Kayville campus. The Guild of Students is thrilled to be partnering with you as you participate in an exciting educational journey of discovery or continuation for those who are continuing. As the president of the Guild of Students, I must let you know, new students, because the continuing students, they would have already known this. So as president of the Guild of Students, I must let you know that we are the official body of the students' representation. The Guild is entrusted with promoting, fostering, and developing the educational, social, cultural, and economic interests of not just some, but all for several reasons. And of course, I know that the COVID-19 pandemic will be one of our most memorable moments. And I must take this opportunity to say, like every well-structured institution, change is inevitable. One of such major change is the emergence of the virtual learning platform as a key medium of facilitating teaching and learning. And that's where we are now at the Kayville campus with both face-to-face as well. Like every new system, there will be a period of trial and error, followed by necessary adjustments. I know the students, they have very pertinent questions for administrations this afternoon. And of course, I know there have been numerous issues as it relates to the registration process, amongst many others. But I must take the opportunity to say, as Guild President, I'm a little bit disappointed in the communication aspect as it relates to the campus. I find it a little bit terrible. And why I found it a little bit terrible is because there were minimal answering of calls, there were minimal responding correspondence as it relates to emails. I know the frustrations of the students because I have encountered it every day. My counselor encountered it every day. And if the students are frustrated, the Guild is twice as frustrated. And as I said before, the students will be asking some pertinent questions, and I'd ask them to do it respectfully to I will continue by saying, as your servant leader, and I'm now talking to the students, as your servant leader, my primary function as Guild President is to represent the interests of you, the students. Hence, I am using this platform to highlight my willingness to compromise if and when it is required, but also expect the relevant authorities to be prepared to do the same in the interest of the students. It is often said that desperate times call for desperate measures. However, I think we should use constructive dialogue as the vehicle to carry us through these desperate times. The Guild of Students, we're actually working along with the campus administration to ensure that all health and safety measures will be upheld for the academic year. And so today you'd have seen a notice where we that the Guild actually put out saying that there will be absolutely no lining in the Guild, no mask, no entry. Your temp for entry. The Guild of Students, I must let you know that we still function as normal aids, tuition grants, etc. So we're functioning as normal. Before I go, I just want you Blackbirds to know that it is paramount that you end frame of mind. We know we have some setbacks, we have some challenges ahead, but keep in touch with the Guild of Students. The most of everything that we have offered. Beyond that, understand that starting university for the first time, or whether you're transferring to a new one, can be both exciting and stressful. But can I tell you, due to the uncertainty, but rest assured, the Guild of Students, we look forward to working with you as we will all start the journey together as a Blackbird family. This school year is filled with unlimited potentials though the uncertainty, but we are ready to meet the challenges head on as the Guild motto states. Together, we can make it happen. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Tasha. You've raised some really important questions and questions that I have been discussing with the registrar. I know we at the Cave Hill campus, we are very committed to offering excellent service. And the experiences that you have raised from students at the Cave Hill campus is something that we plan to work on. We've been trying to improve our systems, our service response times. And the fact that students are still not happy is a concern to us. And this is something that we're going to work on, and we're going to engage you a little bit later on in regards to this issue. But what I'm going to do is ask some of the other members of the panel to present, and then we could come back to this issue again. So I next invite Dr. Kenneth Connell, who is the chair of the campus's Health and Wellness Committee. Kenneth has become sort of our go-to person in relation to COVID-19, both because of his training as a medical doctor and his tremendous reading in this area of COVID-19. So Kenneth, can you please start your presentation?
Sure, thank you, DP. And I shall do so as soon as I can get it loaded. Apologies, I'm struggling with technology on my Mac. However, I should get this sorted now. Great, I think we're all set. So first of all, let me start again because you can never get enough welcoming, but welcome to all of the new and returning students, and a very special welcome to the students in the Faculty of Medical Sciences, the best in the West, especially those of you who are doing the MBBS program and the Bachelor of Health Sciences. Welcome back. We're excited to have you join us. Of course, your health and safety for all students and staff are the agenda of the Campus Health and Medical Services Committee. We take this role very seriously, and we have not compromised at all, especially in this time of COVID-19. So I'm going to take you through this presentation, and because Dr. Henry is here, I will also state what I think you might take away from the presentation, give you some information on border control and travel protocols for Barbados, which have changed for September 1st, how the campus plans to keep you safe, some of our spaces and our protocols, and finally, although Dr. Tanya Whitby Best will touch on this, no doubt, what to do if I'm at high risk or if I feel ill. So enter COVID-19, and it has capsized our entire world such that the virus seems to be almost on the same scale as the world itself. The current statistics for Barbados are as follows. Well, they are current as of September 1st, but I don't believe there were any reported cases yesterday. There are 23 people in isolation. Isolated cases are those cases that have tested positive and either remain positive remain positive and are currently held in the Harrison Point facility. Many of these cases are actually totally well, so they don't have any symptoms or are described as asymptomatic. This therefore drives home the point that you could have absolutely no symptoms, be walking around very well, like for instance on a campus, and still have the infection. So it's important that the public health measures remain in place. And now moving on to the travel protocols for Barbados. So as I said, these were recently changed on September 1st. Important to the Cave Hill campus are the following countries, which are now high-risk countries. So there is the Bahamas, I believe is the correct term, Jamaica, as well as the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Just those I have just singled out. Because the Dean Okombo is here, Ghana is in the medium risk category, and the Barbados government has introduced a new category called very low risk. The implications for these countries are that they don't have to be tested on arrival, and includes Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Cayman Islands, China, Dominica, Finland, and well, you can read the list there for yourself. Okay, so what's new about the new protocols? Now, here's the most important thing of this presentation besides the graphics. So it's mandatory if you are from a medium risk country, so the ones I just mentioned previously, it's now mandatory that you have a second test done. Before, this was stated as I think you will be invited or you will be given the option. There is no option. It's not a multiple choice. There's no best of 5. It is mandatory that you have a second test done if you're coming from a medium risk country. So those persons traveling from medium risk countries will be monitored daily for the onset of symptoms for a period of 7 days, and effective September 14th, persons will be required to take a second COVID-19 test. If your person refuses to have this second COVID-19 test, which is highly unlikely, then you'll be subject to a further quarantine period of 7 days. Then the introduction of the very low risk category, which I've stated already, will apply to some Caribbean territories and some international countries, which means that you don't have to have a COVID test done. The requirements for entry into Barbados are also clearly articulated by the BTMI, Barbados Tourism Management, Inc. And they state, for instance, which many of you have done or will be soon doing, an online travel form, which is done 24 hours prior to travel. To be considered for fast tracking, you have to have your COVID test done 72 hours prior to travel. I want to emphasize this point. When you have your COVID test done, make sure that wherever you have it done, one, it is a validated lab. You can just check on the online site, the government online site, or send them an email. But more importantly, note exactly or receive a certificate stating when the test was done. Many people are forgetting this certificate and they only have proof of when they get the result back. The authorities are more interested in when the test was actually performed. All laboratories are meant to give you this timestamp because they kind of know the importance of it. So make sure you get that before you travel. And of course, be sure to travel with your result as well if it's negative. Okay, in terms of accommodation, if you are a high-risk passenger or a passenger really coming from a high-risk country, the campus really doesn't have a lot of authority in what happens on your arrival. So you will be tested if you don't have a valid negative test. You also will undergo mandatory quarantine. Your options are either to have it done at the government, a government-approved quarantine site. Well, all of them are government-approved. One of them is free. And then there's some other places, like some of the hotels, which I think that Thatcher is at. I'm not going to make the mistake of corrupting your surname. That's also available for you to stay as well. But you are under quarantine. Quarantine is a legal entity. It's not just I have to stay in a room and they don't really want me to go anywhere. But if I need to go, like if there's a really important campus fete coming up, it's mandatory. You cannot break quarantine and there's strict laws against it. Also, I would like to say the Chief Medical Officer of Barbados does have the authority to insist on quarantine of any individual, regardless of what tests you have, which country you come from, it doesn't matter. Now, currently for Barbados, this is for a high-risk country, but if for any reason you are directed to be quarantined by the healthcare authorities, you have to comply with quarantine or not. There are other ways that they can quarantine you in less comfortable environments. So here's some of the campus health and safety protocols we think that will help to make you feel safer on campus. First of all, on entering campus, you'll be asked to have your temperature done. Do not be alarmed at it. Do not believe the fake news that the temperature gun is going to erase whatever I learned last night for the exam in the morning. It's not going to do that. It's a simple test that's used to take your temperature. The campus security officers will indicate to you and show you what the temperature is. And if your temperature is abnormal, they may recheck it, abnormal being above 37.5. If it remains abnormal, they will also advise you on some of the next steps that can be taken. But essentially, as a student, you have it a lot easier than the non-students because you can call the student health facility directly, or you can call the national hotline for further advice. But you're going to have your temperature taken as well. It's also a good kind of practice as you enter campus, which is what I do as well. As I enter campus, I'm having my temperature done, I'm sitting in my vehicle. It's to hand sanitize your hand as well. All of you, I'm sure, will have your own hand sanitizing gel in kind of cool canisters. Make sure as you enter the campus compound that you also hand sanitize. There are various procedures that have been put in place for both staff and students. In particular reference to students, it is mandatory for you to wear a cloth covering, face covering, while also being on this campus. The Campus Health and Medical Services Committee has really tightly specified what type of mask is allowed because there's been a whole debate about some masks being a lot more effective than others, and the scientific data has borne this out. So you need a double layer cloth mask which fits over your mouth and mouth, not or, so both. Some of you are doing the mouth covering in the morning and the nasal covering in the afternoon. It doesn't work that way. It has to cover both nose and mouth. It has to fit snugly around the cheeks as well. Many of you have probably looked at these videos online, and many of them are available via Marcom on our platform. It's called the puff test. You kind of blow out, and you shouldn't see a whole lot of air escaping if your mask is fitting as it's meant to be. Bandanas are not allowed because they really are equivalent to not wearing a mask at all. Some of you may prefer to wear a surgical mask, which is completely fine, except that you cannot wear a surgical mask for the entire semester. The mask is only meant to be worn once and then disposed. I wouldn't recommend that you wear it certainly for more than 4 hours, but if you want to use a surgical mask, make sure you dispose of it. But the minimum requirement is for a face covering, and this will be enforced on campus. Common spaces will also be disinfected, and so you may see from time to time members of management or the in-place group or maintenance who will come around and clean heavily touched surfaces. And this includes like doorknobs. Sometimes some things that are used frequently are often in the classroom. This does not say that you don't pay attention to your personal hygiene. Again, as you enter the classroom, you should hand sanitize. As you leave the classroom, you should hand sanitize as well. Also get in the habit, if you're addicted to your cell phone, as I am, to make sure that you have wipes that you can wipe your cell phone from time to time, and also use earpieces rather than place the phone to your ear. Okay, so if you're feeling sick, don't show up and say that I'm sick. Call first. The rule is always call first. Either call Dr. Tanya Whitby Best or the other staff at the health clinic at 417-4170 or 71, or you can call the COVID hotline at 536-4500. I would advise you to call the campus health clinic first because they'll be able to assist you and also kind of alleviate some of your fears and concerns. If you are feeling sick, don't show up to the clinic and say, I have a high temperature and a cough, because you're putting other people at risk as well. I've already mentioned do's and don'ts for wearing the mask. The key thing is to remember or to think of the back of your mind that you are the one that is infected and you're preventing other people from getting infected. If all of us thought that way, then we could really reduce the spread. The WHO and the United States CDC has made a big deal this week about mask wearing because it's the single most intervention, public health intervention, that decreases the spread of coronavirus. And so we're paying close attention to it, including the campus will soon have a Wear Your Mask, Why I Wear My Mask campaign, and we will also be auditing how well we're doing with mask wearing on campus. If you are ill, so you might be a mature student over the age of 65, or you may have a chronic condition such as chronic lung disease, or many of you may have things like asthma, diabetes, or be living with conditions like high blood pressure. If you have those concerns, certainly before you travel to Barbados, make sure you walk with an ample supply of medication. If you are living with asthma, make sure you have an inhaler and that the inhaler canister is not past its expiry date. And remember also, which Dr. Best will be also discussing with you, also travel with a spacer, since the campus health clinic will not be nebulizing, they'll be using spacer devices anyway. So if you have your own spacer, it's also convenient. So the 3 top tips: watch your distance. 6 feet is the minimum distance. Be obsessive about it. Don't let people come into your personal space, which is now much larger. Wash your hands quite often with soap and water. Although hand sanitizing gel with at least 60% alcohol may be convenient, remember the gold standard is still soap and water. Ordinary soap and water is absolutely fine. Just make sure that your hands are dried properly. Also, wearing a face covering is mandatory on campus. And I will close here and hand over to the chair, Professor Moore.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Connell. So during your presentation, you would have mentioned Dr. Tanya Whitby-Best. She's the medical officer in the Student Health Services Clinic, and I would invite her to start her presentation.
Okay, good evening again, everyone. Thank you, Deputy Principal. Again, welcome, Cave Hill family, to our community, because I do see Cave Hill as a community. We have new students with us, and we'll also have some returning students. And since our last meeting, which is actually available on YouTube also on March 12, 2020, quite a bit has changed worldwide for us. In March, at that time, there were only 125,000 plus cases of COVID-19 in the world, with a little over 4,600 deaths. The next day, the World Health Organization declared it a pandemic. And in the Caribbean, we had very few cases, with most Caribbean countries, including Barbados at the time, reporting no cases. Of course, 6 months later, September 3rd, we're at over 26 million with 863,000 deaths. But of note, 13.3 million persons have recovered. And majority of the cases are in the Americas, and several countries have reported community transmission, including several Caribbean countries. Now, according to the WHO, majority of COVID-19 cases reported are among persons aged 20 to 59 years of age. And I thought this was important to point out. However, 70% of the deaths are occurring in persons over 60 years. So the take-home message from this is that younger persons are the ones who are driving the spread in the region. And of course, that's the age group that falls into most of our students on campus. As such, we would have the protocols put in place to try and ensure that we safeguard everyone in our community, especially the most vulnerable. Now, there would have been mention about following the national protocols and cooperating with the Ministry of Health officials during this period and also on campus. And I just want to mention quickly, for those who are traveling to Barbados or who may have already been in Barbados, that there would be need to have a clearance to come on campus if you fall into any of the medium or high risk category and require COVID-19 testing. And that clearance will be done usually after the second test, especially, and it needs to be done within the recommended time frame as outlined by the Ministry of Health. We ask that you email copies of your first and the second test or any clearance certificate that you receive to us at the clinic at health@cavhill.uwi.edu, and then we'll respond to you with a clearance document to be able to go on halls, to come on classes, and so on. I know I would have already been receiving emails from some students who this procedure has started already, So I'll get back to you in a timely fashion, but please ensure that we at least know the date of when the first test was done and the second test was done, because that is very important. Due to recommendations by the WHO, when you're managing a healthcare facility during a pandemic, we had to make some changes in terms of how you access clinic services. The clinic usually opens 8:30 to 9 p.m. during the semester once teaching has started, and we will maintain these hours. And we're also looking to have additional staff in terms of doctors assisting with care, especially during the peak hours, which is during the daytime. We ask that non-urgent walk-ins do not come to the clinic. I know sometimes persons might be passing and go, oh yeah, I remember that finger was hurting me from last week. And you say, let me just stop and see if I can get seen. We're trying to avoid that because again, we need to protect the most vulnerable among us. We want to make sure we have persons coming in the clinic in an orderly fashion and not having a high-risk person being around someone who may have symptoms of COVID. Okay, so we want you to email us to make an appointment. Again, health@kville.uwi.edu, or you can also call, but we prefer the emails to make an appointment. Of course, emergencies will happen, and emergency will happen when you're on campus. In that case, we don't expect that you go looking to try and email us, but just call ahead so that we can prepare adequately and know that someone is coming with an emergency. And the number is 417-4170, as mentioned previously. Now, there's also mention about the COVID hotline, and I ask that all students are aware of this number. It's 24 hours a day. So it's 536-4500. If after hours, the clinic hours, and you have any questions, concerns, you can always call to get some information from the COVID hotline. I also encourage students to have their own thermometers. We don't expect that the pandemic will end anytime soon. So you never know at which point you may also need to monitor your health. And part of the monitoring process include temperature, taking your temperature daily. So there are some facilities, pharmacies and so on, who sell thermometers, and you don't have to get the expensive infrared thermometer. There are some digital ones that are at affordable prices that you can get to keep for yourself to use, just in case you at any point need to monitor your health during your time here this semester. When coming to the clinic, there are some protocols that we ask that you maintain. Masks or face coverings are mandatory, as stated before, on campus. We ask that you keep appointments, please, and email us in a timely manner if unable to attend. Why I ask that you let us know that you're unable to attend, since we're doing an appointment system, there may be another student who we may be able to contact and let them know this time as it become available, will you be able to come at that time? But if you don't turn up, or we don't know 5 minutes before the time that you're not coming, then that space may be wasted then, and another student would not benefit from having that appointment time. We ask that you don't come too early before appointments. It's a thing in the Caribbean, especially in Barbados, persons like to turn up earlier thinking they get through quicker. But if we're going to stick to the appointment system as best as possible, then we ask that you arrive no more than 5 to 10 minutes before. And this is to ensure that we can avoid any congestion in the clinic and maintain social distancing protocols as best as possible. Please do not be too late for the appointment either. If you're too late, it doesn't give enough time for the consultation, and then the other appointment will be on time, and then there'll be overlap. If you're late, we give you about 10 to 15 minutes grace period. If you're too late for the appointment, we're going to reschedule it. And we ask that you do not bring any person with you who does not need to come. We have decreased the sitting area in the clinic, and we are not having persons sitting and waiting on another student, unless of course they had to come with you because you needed assistance to get here. But otherwise, anyone with you would be asked to wait outside the clinic. Students with chronic illness, I just wanted to reiterate what Dr. Connell has said, to make sure you have adequate medication and try to keep appointments. You should make sure you make appointments with the clinic or with your personal doctor if you prefer, and ensure that you keep up with the appointments. And he may mention for the asthmatics, make sure you have inhalers that are not expired and a spacer. And also you should make an appointment to get an asthma plan done with a doctor. You can do that with us at the clinic or your personal doctor. And what that plan will entails is what should you do if you start getting an asthma attack. There are actually steps that you take during this time. And so we're encouraging you to do that. We encourage those persons to avoid crowded places and to follow the 3 W's. Wearing of your mask or face coverings, washing your hand, and watching your distance, keeping 6 feet away from other persons. Because we know from statistics that persons with chronic illnesses, certain chronic illness, are more likely to get severe COVID-19 illness. Okay, you're not more likely to get COVID-19, but if you get it, you're more likely to have complications. And I just want to, one leaving point I want to make mention of, Emphademic. And the WHO's Director General has recently stated that we're not just fighting a pandemic, we're also fighting an infodemic. And what that means, it's an excessive amount of information about a problem that is typically unreliable, it spreads rapidly, and it makes a solution more difficult to achieve. You get a lot of fake news, misinformation, conspiracy theories that are prevalent. And especially in this age of social media, we're also fighting that. I'm imploring that students that that you'll be the leaders in making sure that we do not spread misinformation. We don't want to spread it on campus. We don't want to spread it on social media. Ensure that whatever information you share is from a credible source and that it is scientifically based. And with that, I will answer some questions later on. So thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Whitby-Best. So another area of questions that we're likely to get would be in the area of student accommodation. And we have Ms. Diana Brand to make a presentation on that area.
Thank you, Deputy Principal. Good evening, Blackbirds, once again, and welcome especially to those students who are staying with us on our halls of residence and also our off-campus accommodation. Those new students and of course those students who are returning. We're really excited to welcome you this semester, but it will look differently, it certainly will. And as we seek to create a safe and productive environment for our students, but we're also looking to ensure that we create a memorable experience, a lasting experience that they will take with them long after they leave Cave Hill. So in saying that, of course, a number of things will look differently. And just to touch on, I would like to have some, give you some insight into what our protocols for our halls of residence will look like, and also just briefly give you some insight into how we would seek to engage and encourage a level of student responsibility. So for this semester, we have the occupancy of 2 halls of residence this year. And those 2 halls of residence will be our Frank Worrell Hall on campus and our Keith Hunt Hall off campus. And those halls are not on full occupancy, intentionally so, because we wanted to ensure that we create some physical distancing, particularly on our floors. So our assignments of our spaces, our room assignments, have been done intentional to accommodate 4 students per floor on our Frank Worrell Hall, which is usually 6 students per floor. And on our Keith Hunt Hall, a very similar type of setup we have assigned with intention. So for those of you who would already be with us would know that we had slated in specific times for moving onto our halls, and also for the collection of storage for those who would have had storage left with us from last year. We would have slated in specific times and allocated times. We know that the collection of storage this year would certainly look different, but of course we have done that with a purpose and seeking to minimize the risk of contact as much as possible, or a large influx of students on our halls. We will be having no double room occupancy. All our spaces are single units. We've also increased the frequency of cleaning by our staff to twice a day, but of course we are looking to encourage our students to play their part in helping us to keep our personal spaces and spaces clean. But we have increased the frequency, and our staff have been retrained in terms of cleaning process, specifically in line with the COVID-19 protocols. We have in place at strategic locations, hand sanitizer stations, and also on entry to both of our halls of residence, we have temperature checks that our security officers will be working with us to ensure that temperature checks are done at each point of location, as well as coming onto campus, but at the entry to our halls of residence. We have a no guest policy this semester. And of course, we have signage on a number of areas and spaces within our halls of residence. So what I would really like to promote during this conversation is, again, resident responsibility and seeking to encourage a level of responsibility that we would like our residents to take in ensuring that that they follow the protocols that have been put in place. And in doing so, we're continuing to work with what I would like to call our social media influencers, which are our guild president, our hall chairs, our student leaders who we're looking to work very closely with to ensure that they work with us to continue to promote the level of resident responsibility that we're hoping to achieve. And more often than not, halls administration is looked at as policy enforcers, but for sure we're looking to safeguard the health and safety of our residents on halls. And I feel confident that our students want to do the right thing. They want to wear their masks. They want to engage in the best practices to combat COVID. And I feel very confident that they wish to do the right thing. If I could just take this opportunity to commend the students during the summer that stayed on our halls, who had to adopt to the new norm, and they did very well in doing so. And on observation, they adhered to the practices and the requirements that had to be put in place whilst living on our halls of residence during the summer. So of course, during the start of the semester, there are always fresher events and engagement of our new students that come onto our halls. But for sure, one of the things that will certainly look different will be the engagement of those new students onto our halls. And one of the things that we have been engaging our resident leaders are how best and how creative they can be in engaging our new students. And there are a number of exercises planned in terms of virtual ways of having that engagement. And I encourage you to take part, and of course be mindful that the spaces on our halls of residence are not going to be used in the way in which that they have been previously in terms of the large numbers. So being creative virtually as opposed to engaging in the physical space in welcoming the new residents and having that space on halls. So our off-campus accommodation as well. I know a number of students have been on our off-campus accommodation, and we have an off-campus office who has been in liaison with our landlord. We have an off-campus accommodation officer, Mr. Charles Boyce, and he has been in liaison with our landlords in discussions and as it relates to what they're encouraging our students in terms of best practices. And he has observed that a number of students have sought to seek accommodation in single spaces as opposed to double and shared spaces. And that says that they certainly are looking to they're mindful of the responsibility of ensuring that their personal space is kept free from any possible COVID forgive me. So we have also off-campus commuters guild representative who's working alongside us and in partnership with our landlord and having some discussions with us too. So how we, in looking to engage in our students who are off campus and represent them and be the voice for them, if the need arises for us to intervene where there are any situations that we may face where our students are not happy with their off-campus accommodation or need to have their voice heard. So I'd like to just encourage those students who are seeking off-campus accommodation to do so through our office or through the off-campus accommodation officer or the off-campus guild commuters representative, and seek to look at seeking accommodation through us. So once again, I feel confident that our students wish to do the right thing, and we're really looking to work with our students leaders to I don't want to use the term enforce, but work with us, work with our student leaders to engage in our resident community, to help us to keep our residents COVID-free, our campus COVID-free, not just our residential community, but our campus COVID-free. And encourage you, please do use this opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. I'm around, so if there's anything that I haven't covered, this has just been a brief presentation from me, forgive me. But if there are any questions you have as it relates to any housing issues that's on campus or off campus, please feel free and use this opportunity to do so. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ms. Bryan. All right, I've been monitoring the chat and there are lots of questions. We're going to get to these questions very soon, but a lot of the questions that have been appearing in the chat deal with the timetabling issues and registration issues. And as you would expect with physical distancing, we've had to reconfigure a lot of the spaces within the classroom to allow for live streaming of the lectures. We've had to install new equipment. So Professor Justin Robinson is going to speak to some of these issues and hopefully clear up a lot of the misconceptions that we have in relation to these type of areas.
Okay, good afternoon, colleagues. I'm just going to do a brief presentation as I share my screen. So again, we know we are in the COVID-19 pandemic and what are the issues around timetabling. So just to set a brief context, one of the major impacts has been reduced capacity. So the physical distancing requirements has reduced the face-to-face capacity on the campus. Just to give you an example, Lecture Theater 1, our largest space, the capacity has been reduced from 360 students to 90 students. So in many ways, the major constraint in terms of doing the timetabling and the scheduling has been the reduced capacity because of the need to ensure safety by enforcing 6 feet physical distancing. So in terms of timetabling the courses, the campus is going for the hybrid approach, where essentially, except for pedagogical, health, or capacity reasons, lecture sections, will be scheduled both face-to-face and online to cater to student preferences. Okay, so pedagogical. So if this is a lab-based course, we cannot deliver chemistry and biology labs in a pedagogically sound way online. So those would have to be face-to-face only. If you are doing, let's say, something in dance or something like that, again, that may require a face-to-face interaction. health reasons, there may be faculty members who are high risk and unable to engage in the face-to-face environment. And then capacity, because with that reduced capacity, it is simply impossible to offer a face-to-face option for each and every section. Okay, so again, to reiterate that except for pedagogical, health, and capacity reasons, the lecture sections of your courses, the aim is to offer both face-to-face and online options to cater to student preferences. I want to emphasize that tutorials are online except for the above mentioned reasons. So tutorials are going to be delivered primarily in the online mode. And in terms of scheduling courses with our limited capacity, the level 1 courses have been given priority because these students are new to the campus. This is their first university experience. So in terms of rationing the limited space, the campus took the decision that they would be offered priority. So I want to make 3 points, and then I will show you a visual of what your timetable options should look like. So students are not required to attend lectures or tutorials on a face-to-face basis except for pedagogical reasons. Okay, so no student should have to attend a lecture or a tutorial on a face-to-face basis except for pedagogy, again, lab courses, maybe some of the medical science courses, and so on. Face-to-face sections may not be available for all lecture sections due to capacity limits and the health risks of faculty. Okay, so while you are not required to attend any lecture or tutorial face-to-face except for pedagogical reasons, because of the physical distancing requirements, face-to-face sections may not be available for all lecture sections. And I want to say that the timetable has been challenging in the current environment, and the campus is committed to addressing your individual challenges before teaching begins on September 14th. So I'm going to share another aspect of my screen just so hopefully you get a better sense of what the timetable should look like. So what you're seeing on the screen there is in the KFL online. So if we take some courses here, you have Introduction to Management, Lecture 1, 4 to 6 p.m. on Thursday in the Roy Marshall Teaching Complex. So that's a face-to-face section. You have Lecture 2 in the same course, MGMT 1001, 11 to 1 p.m. on Monday. That's under the 10th. Then you have lecture, so again, that's another face-to-face section. Then you have Lecture 3, 8 to 10 a.m. on Wednesday under the 10th. And now we see Lecture 4, which is online, it's labeled online, and it's 4 to 6 p.m. So that section then is the online analog of the 4 to 6 section you saw earlier. So as a student, you can decide, do I want to pick one of these face-to-face or one of these online options? So again, there is another online section, Lecture 5, 8 to 10 a.m. and so forth. And then you have a set of tutorial options. But there are 18 so far, and these are all online. Again, in trying to manage the limited physical space, the tutorials have all been shifted online. Now, if you take this particular course, Property and Facilities Management, because of space restrictions, this cannot fit face-to-face, but it's online. So again, you have that online option. Microcomputer applications for business. It says online because this faculty member can only teach in the online mode. So again, I want to reiterate that the timetable is designed to give students that element of choice between face-to-face and online. So no one is required to come to any classes at KFL face-to-face if they do not wish to do so, except where those courses cannot be offered in an online mode for pedagogical reasons. Again, and also related to that, however, because of the physical distancing requirements, the number of online spaces are in fact limited. And we cannot physically schedule an online option in each and every course, given the physical distancing requirements. Trying to manage these competing constraints has been a challenge, but the timetable issues are being worked through, and the campus is committed to resolving your individual issues for when teaching starts in 1 week. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot, Justin. I think that cleared up a number of the questions that we would have had. There's one issue that kept popping up in a number of the question and answer section that relates to the registration fees. And the bursar just sent me a message, and the message from the bursar is that any late registration fees on student accounts will be reversed. So given the delay in relation to registration, those late registration fees on student accounts will be reversed. However, please ensure that you still register for your classes as soon as possible, because this is necessary in order for you to start, in order for the campus to start generating an examination timetable. These are things that we start doing quite early. Still please register as quickly as possible. There's another matter that I would like to mention as well. Again, there's been a little bit of misinformation in relation to what the campus is offering in terms of services. The only open air classroom that we have on campus is the tent. We are still going to be teaching you in air-conditioned rooms and providing you all of these services and all of the other accommodations that you normally associate with the University of the West Indies. So please take that off of your mind if that was one of the things that was affecting you. So what I'll do now is I'll pose a number of questions and to the panel. Principal, yes, please.
Yes, I just wanted to add in relation to that in fact, we had a request from the reason the tent was added as a possible teaching site is that we had a request from colleagues in the Faculty of Science and Technology that it would be appropriate to offer some classes there. We also should add that the Caribbean Examination Council used the tent very successfully during, I think it was July, to host exams for the students. The tent is not the main teaching site. There are no open air classes that was reported somewhere in the press, but that some colleagues in the Faculty of Science and Technology thought that the use of the tent would be appropriate for some of their classes. And the tent is not open air, the tent is covered. However, there is excellent ventilation. I would like the students of the campus to recognize, as I said at the beginning, that the Cable campus is committed to their safety and well-being. And in terms of the physical spacing that is required, we actually need more spaces, as Professor Robinson has outlined. But the tent is not the main teaching facility. It will be available for some classes, and we have had requests, as I have said, from the Caribbean Examination Council and the Ministry of Education of Barbados, and they have successfully used the tent. All right, I will come back later. So.
Okay, great. Registrar, there's a question for you. This one is relatively simple. When is the semester actually supposed to start this year? And what is the date for the end of the semester?
The semester system should start on the 14th of September, after we've delayed for one week, and it should conclude on the 22nd of December, which is at the end of the examination period.
Okay. Thank you very much, Registrar. A number of students have also been speaking about the late registration fees. Hopefully that message gets across loudly and clearly. If not, I will say it again. If you have a late registration fee on your account, that will be removed. Okay, so do not worry too much about that. There are a couple of other questions that I'll pose to the panel. One of the questions relates to the amenities fee. Can one of the members of the panel speak to that?
I don't mind speaking to it at all. And there's so many different types I've seen. The amenities fees at the Caville campus has not been increased in at least over 3 years, and I think perhaps a longer time. The amenities fees, the agreement for the increase in amenities fees is a year ago in the last academic year. The students asked for it to be postponed, and we agreed that it will take effect from this year. The amenities fees have been increased by $10 a semester, which is less than 10 cents a day. I have seen a question in the chat which suggests that St. Augustine has removed the amenities fees if Caville will do that. Caville will not do that. At the last budget preparation we went to, as all the campuses, the Caville campus has had to reduce its budget by 7.6%. The St. Augustine campus did not have to reduce its budget, and it is being funded by the government of Trinidad and Tobago, because we receive, the campus you are hosted on receives the majority of its funding from the host government. We receive about 80% of our funding from the government of Barbados. The Caville campus has had to reduce its budget by 7.6%, and that means that we receive less from the combined, including Barbados. St. Augustine did not have that. The St. Augustine campus, the Mona campus, the Caville campus, the Open campus, and the Five Island campus face different national funding considerations. The $10 per semester that students are now required to pay is, the Caville campus makes no money from that. It is a contribution to the range of services that you provide, but overall they represent a registration fee that says you are a registered student of the campus. I saw a question in the chat where someone says, well, I am online, or for the students online, why they have to pay amenities fees. There is a misunderstanding. You are a student online of the Caville campus. That means your lecturers are responsible for teaching you online, for grading your papers online. You can make an appointment online to see a psychological counselor to get career counseling. There's some forms of medical services that you could even access online. The support mechanisms, because you are online, are greater. And the campus has had to invest very heavily in ensuring that. But I really want you to disabuse yourself of the notion that $10 per semester is going to create some kitty for the campus in terms of educating you. It does not. Everything we do for you is extremely heavily subsidized, and we will continue to do that because we think we have to. But the funding available to the campus is drastically reduced. So the amenities fee becomes a small drop in the bucket of maintaining a package of services for you. And I would ask you, I would invite all of you to step back and think about what can you do for $10 in terms of any of the services that you individually get in terms of moving around. So do not ask if it is going to be reduced, if it is going to be taken off. I answered that it is not going to be taken off. And you cannot be a student unless you are registered. So you have to be registered at the UWI Caville campus, and to be registered, you pay the amenities fees. That enables you to visit the library online and borrow resources from the library online and other services that you are entitled to. But the registration fee, we call it amenities fees, and you have come to associate it with different packages of service. Somebody asked if you're not doing that. Well, it is not, okay, I ride the bus, I pay this plus. I don't ride the bus, I get off $20. It doesn't work like that. It is the fee to be registered in the Caville campus. And that is the fee. It was when the paper was passed at Finance and General Purposes Committee, your president was there, the other student representation. We don't make any decisions without the input of the students, but you need to accept that this is registration fee for the Cave campus and it will not be reduced. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Principal. There's a question here that has been voted a number of times, so I'll just read it out. How are we expected to register for classes where the date and time are TBA? How do we plan our lives and schedules around this? And furthermore, what are we to do if they end up, I think that's canceling classes with, clashing with other classes?
Chair, you broke up there a bit from my
Sure.
end. So
Let me repeat it again. How are we expected to register for classes where the date and time are to be announced? How do we plan our lives and schedules around this? Furthermore, what are we to do if they end up clashing with other classes?
Okay, so in terms of the timetabling, where dates and times are TBA, those are cases where the physical distancing and the space limitation requirements are such that as yet, those courses have not been able to be allocated, but those are things that are being worked out and they will be worked out so that you can register in time for your classes to start, for when lectures start on September 14th.
Okay. This is another one that I think has been covered already, but it has been asked a number of times. Are all courses accessible online for continuing students? Can the Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences tell us whether or not all tutorials for social sciences courses will be available online, especially for continuing students not returning to the island? Prof. Lord?
Sorry, could you repeat that question? It was
Sure.
Sure.
Are all courses available online for continuing students? Can the Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences tell us whether or not all tutorials for social sciences courses will be available online, especially for continuing students not returning to the island?
Okay, thank you, Deputy Principal. Certainly, as Professor Robinson had indicated, there's going to be an online section for each class. So notwithstanding what students are currently seeing on the timetable, where it appears that some courses may be only offered face-to-face, this is only because the timetable is not reflecting what was intended. And they should have no fear that all classes face-to-face will have online mode as well. And then there are, of course, those courses that will be only offered in online mode because of the lack of spaces to hold each course in a physical setting. So they wouldn't have to fear that they would be disadvantaged or certainly not able to take courses because they're not able to make it back to Barbados.
Okay. There's another question. Are we still required to do 150 hours for the Give Back program despite the COVID-19 situation? And does this apply to those third years with one semester left?
Deputy Principal, I'll respond. We've not been instructed that students are not to fulfill this obligation. This is a stipulation by the government of Barbados, and it's expected that students sign up for the Give Back program on the Ministry of Education's website and make use of the available opportunities as they come on that website. Very shortly, we are also going to publish some opportunities to participate in volunteer service here on the campus, and we will be sending out the notification. And so I hope that it is clear that any student who registered Barbadian student is expected to undertake volunteer hours under that program.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lynch. this one would be for the Dean of the Faculty of Medical Sciences, as well as Dr. Connell. I am a medical student from Trinidad and Tobago. Furthermore, I fall under the high-risk category since I have asthma, as well as another condition that your chair cannot pronounce. Due to this, I am wondering if it is mandatory for me to travel to Barbados, or would I be able to do this semester online?
Yes, thank you. I'll take the question. A first-year student, while we prefer all of our first-year students to be here, like Professor Robertson said, we're committed to providing online teaching for all our classes. So the student can access all the classes online. I must say though, at present, Barbados is one of the safest places in the world to be as far as COVID is concerned. I don't know how long it will last. As the program continues, hopefully we'll get an immunization or something, but face-to-face will be necessary at some stage in the medical program, but we're to assist where possible with online. And since there are going to be some students who are going to need to do online, we're going to have to deliver everything. But we're supposed to deliver hybrid, and we're committed to that, including trying to find solutions for the labs in first year.
Okay. All right, thanks a lot. So that question has been addressed. So can we be told whether or not all tutorials for social sciences courses will be available online? How are remote students expected to progress with their respective degree programs when the tutorials and even some lectures aren't available online?
I'll answer that. And as I indicated before, all tutorials will be offered in an online mode. So while that's what the system currently says, even that it's only face-to-face, as I said, rest assured, all tutorials will be offered online. So students, again, that cannot be here for various reasons will be able to participate in their tutorials. And as I indicated, also lectures. One other thing that the principal, even though that's not what you raised, this pertains to a question that came to me. It was in relation to, I'll just generalize it. There are some students that were unable to make the orientation for the Faculty of Social Sciences on Monday, and perhaps have not yet managed to get advising, certainly on a one-on-one basis. And I'm going to let them know that next week we're going to hold another orientation, which allows them to learn of the information that we had delivered to the students, the new students, on Monday when the original orientation was held. And one-on-one sessions are going to continue. One-on-one advising sessions. I do want to point out here that the Faculty of Social Sciences, we've been using an online booking approach to advising. So students are able to book appointments when lecturers are available for advising. And they've 2 sessions in which this has taken place, primarily online. And this is using Teams, because this is the platform that the app is based on, Office 365. But each department, including the faculty office, has also scheduled 1 day a week for students who wish to have face-to-face appointments. So that, I'll repeat again, for those students who have not, or unable, sorry, to attend the orientation on Monday, we are going to have a mini orientation next week. The day is going to be scheduled and email sent out. And you're also going to be advised one-on-one if this is also a feature of student advising that you wish to have. Instead of group advising, one-on-one sessions are also available. Thanks, Deputy Principal.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to share my screen because the question has come up, and I don't know if maybe part of the confusion, I guess we have students here, they could spread the word. So if you look at this course, Microcomputer Application for Business, we have the online indicated there, which is something that the timetable team would have added to indicate that that is an online section. I don't know if part of the confusion is when persons look online, they see this bit where my cursor is here, which is saying face-to-face instructional method. Now, this is a catalog entry which has to do with how the course was approved initially. And it just wasn't practical for the timetable team to remove this for each and every section individually, all 2,800 of them. So again, so just a message for clarity for students is that you ignore this bit if that is what is creating the confusion, and that we have labeled the online sections online so that persons can see that. So I don't know if that might help with the confusion, Chair.
Thank you very much, Prof. Let me also remind you to please check your official UE email addresses for all communication from the campus. I know you would have received communication to your personal email accounts prior to coming to the campus, but once you have been admitted to the campus, we now start sending all communication to your official UE email address. If you like, you can forward emails from your official email address to whatever email address that you check on a regular basis. But the principle or that we normally use is that we send all communication to students to their official UWI email address. There is a question here. Yes, please.
I just wanted to just on that matter, there was a question in the chat in relation to a student that can't access their email or they're unable, they don't know how to do it. So I believe this question should be one that is addressed.
Okay, I haven't seen that one as yet, but can you read it out and then maybe Keith can address that?
Okay, well, as I said, I'll just pre-see it. There was a student that said they're unable to access their UE email. They said, I attempted to do so and an error continuously popped up. That was one question in relation to the matter. And I believe somewhere there was a question that said they don't know how to access it.
Okay. Keith, any advice?
Okay, yes. For the person who is having challenges, you can engage campus ID services either through our service desk or through our service desk online, and the agents there will assist in the resetting of their password if that needs to be done. Instructions for their email should have been sent to their personal email during the registration process. But again, you can interact with campus IT services either through our window, but if you can contact us through our online chat service as well, and our agents will help you from there.
Thank you very much, Keith. There is a question that is very popular on Zoom. What arrangements are being made for the already inefficient shuttle service? Dale, can we maybe outline some of the things that we've been working on in relation to the shuttle service?
Sure, Deputy Principal. Let me first say that we try our best to provide timely service to students with limited shuttle availability, in the sense that we do have shuttles that we do have a very high demand, and I think that we do try to provide efficient service in as much as that allows. Also to let students know that we have made provisions for your safety on the shuttles. And so we do have health and safety guidelines for the students as well as the bus drivers. We have been putting in place measures to do temperature taking and hand sanitizing. And therefore, as well as a management system, a tracking management system that will see students being scanned in as they enter the bus, and that's for contact tracing. The access to that app, and it was an app developed by the Smart Campus Coordinator, students will be able to track the location of the bus so they can make choices about whether they wait for the bus or not. So it gives them a good sense of where the bus is. We will resume service on all 3 routes, and the shuttle service times are listed on the campus app under the tiled transportation, or they are listed on our website, and full details as to the routes and the times are available there.
Okay. There's just another piece of information as well I'd like to pass on to you. SITS would have hosted a CHOL walkthrough. CHOL is where you register for your courses via Zoom this week. Perhaps maybe we can arrange next week, given the delay in teaching, a couple other sessions, Keith, for the students.
Yes, we can do that. I think we had our last scheduled event today, but given the extra time and also the demand, I think during orientation, we had 300 people in the room and 600 outside. So we can definitely put on some additional scheduled sessions.
Okay. All right. Another question, this one is from YouTube. Will all online classes be using the same platform, or will the platform utilized by the lecturers vary based on their preference?
Prof, I mean, I think maybe I can speak to that. So 2 platforms have been embedded in the e-learning site. So faculty will be using either Blackboard Collaborate or Zoom, because both of those platforms are now an integral part of the e-learning platform. So when you go to your first lecture, the lecturer would indicate which of those 2 platforms they will be using. My expectation is that many people seem to have a preference for Zoom, but lecturers have a choice of Zoom or Blackboard, and both are an integral part of your e-learning platform. So you wouldn't need anyone to send you like a Zoom link for each of your lectures or anything like that. Once you go on to e-learning, you will be able to select your online class just by clicking on that link on e-learning. And you will be told which platform when you go to class, because we don't know which platform a particular lecturer will choose.
Thanks a lot, Prof. This one from Zoom now. I am a full-time student and I try to register for my classes after speaking with my academic advisor on Wednesday. However, 4 out of the 5 classes I have to take are full. I've sent various emails and was told that my information was forwarded to the head of the department, but I've not heard anything as yet. What should I do from here? Any one of the deans or heads want to respond?
Yeah, maybe I could say a word on that. Normally, when those requests come to the dean's office or the departmental office, the AA, in conjunction with the head or the dean, would act on them immediately, as soon as possible. So that I'm aware that, was it yesterday, we forwarded to Timothy Arthur the names of the relevant AAs who usually work on such requests so that the process can be expedited as soon as possible. So I wonder which faculty that student is in, because otherwise
they didn't say.
Yeah, that's the procedure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think this is a follow-up question that might be on the minds of a number of students, Dean. For many classes, online options were full and I was forced to ask for overrides. How long will it take to get these overrides processed, especially since we simply cannot go to classes without the class link?
Again, if I may say something on that, in the Faculty of Humanities and Education, once those requests come, I would normally act on them immediately.
Mm-hmm. Prof. Lord?
Sure. Well, I won't be really handling overrides in my new role, but certainly when I was head, I mean, like Professor Odiambo indicated, Mosheng Odiambo indicated, we acted on them immediately so that they're processed right away in the English department. Each head handles it, supported by their AA, which are then sent down to the admissions office to address students as the case might be. So if they were approved, they were going to be registered for the course. Naturally, of course, if this was not approved, they would not be registered. An email would be sent to each student indicating whether they were successful or not in getting that override approved. And so I would imagine, I mean, there's going to be a backlog of this. It's usually teeth and issues associated with registration. So usually though, I would imagine within a week or two, students will be able to see that they have been registered successfully.
Chair, I just wanted to add that in terms of planning for teaching in this unique environment, one of the things that we were aware of is that override processing would require a greater degree of urgency than in the past, because people who have taken their classes online, in a sense, they can't access the material unless they are fully registered. So the new protocol is that overrides are to be processed in departments daily. And a senior staff member has been designated as being responsible for the processing of those overrides once they come through the departments. So there is a special protocol in place now to ensure that overrides are processed in a rapid manner, because it is critical to the online student, because in a sense they can't access their materials. So overrides, so the new protocol is that overrides are processed in the departments daily, and a senior staff member in IT has been designated with responsibility to ensure the technical processing of those once they have been approved by the department, because not all override requests are approved. I mean, people request overrides for a variety of reasons, and they're not always being granted. But once the academic approval is to be granted daily, and a senior staff member has been assigned to ensure that the technical processing happens rapidly once there's the academic approval.
Okay, thanks you very much. Thatcher, I see your hand is raised. Do you have a question or a comment?
Yes, I do. I was actually looking at a question on Zoom where a student was asking, why didn't I lobby for the amenities to be lower? Now, may I say that the principal would have explained earlier the importance of the amenities and why the Caveville campus cannot change the amenities. Different campuses operates different, and the principal would have explained. I am not going to be that student leader who lobbies for the removal of amenities, and may I say that unapologetically, because at this time, even the Guild of Students, we actually need the amenities in order to operate. If we don't get that $60, then we can't give scholarships, we can't fulfill our welfare drive, we can't fulfill our tuition grants obligation, we can't fulfill our financial aid, and of course, we won't have staff. So everybody will be at a disadvantage. I would like you, Professor Moore, or the principal, to at least explain again why the Caveville campus cannot remove the amenities.
Well, thank you, Tacha. I actually started trying to answer in the chat because they were saying since COVID-19, if we shouldn't reduce it, but every time I try writing, it scrolls, so I couldn't finish. Actually, COVID-19 makes the running of the campus far more expensive. We have to put decals down. We have to ensure that there's hand sanitization. Each of the thermometer guns costs about $115. We have to ensure that those are there. We have to ensure that all the sanitization and everything is in place. We have expanded, we have bought a lot of technology to ensure that the online students who cannot return through no fault of their own, but they are Caveville students and we want to make sure they turn up in the class virtually, are able to do so. And I saw a question in the chat earlier that I could not believe it. Since I'm online, why do I have to pay amenities fees? Well, where are you online? Are you online at Barbados Community College, the University of Denver, or are you online at the University of the West Indies Caveville campus? To be in the Caveville campus, you have to pay a registration fee. And you all really need to get rid of the notion that 500 and I don't know how much it is a semester, but let's say the increase of $10 is making the Caveville campus wealthy. It is not. And for those of you in Barbados, and in fact, I should say throughout the region, unemployment in Barbados is about 40% or more. and the government is struggling, trying very hard to maintain its what they provide us with. But what you pay $10 a semester, to be quite honest, I think some of you should be embarrassed to fuss about $10 per semester, 10 cents a day, face mask of $15. If you are on this campus and something happens to you, you have a health insurance that takes care of you. If you're off the campus and you want to access healthcare services, we make sure that that can be done. But it is not any, y'all are getting into something where you're trying to quantify the fee. I found the question about the very inefficient bus service rather rude. The bus service is supplementary. $10. If you had to catch 3 buses a day, $10 wouldn't cover you. And we try to provide a bus service, and we also have to insure the buses. And the bus service, let me tell you, my dear students, the bus service is supplementary. It is designed to assist you. It is not designed to replace the public transportation system. So we are doing a range of things to assist you. And as Ms. Loughton has said, the GIL also receives a subvention. When we went for Trinidad can afford to remove the amenities fees because the government of Trinidad and Tobago gave to the St. Augustine campus everything that was in their budget. We had to cut the budget, and the $10 per semester does not give we subsidize every service that we offer you, every service. The campus does not even break even, and we are not saying that we should break even, because we think we have a responsibility to provide those services. You think that because you're being taught online that Professor Lord is paid what? Less than what Professor Lord is paid if you sit in his class? The lectures and the services and the running of the campus, all of that still continues. And y'all are beginning, for the ones of you who are getting bent out of shape over that $10, again, I wish you to step back and reflect on what is happening in the Caribbean. Hello, there's something called a global pandemic. There was going to be the Olympics this year and it did not happen. There was going to be the Youth Olympics and it did not happen. I know young people in Barbados who are national scholars, who are attending Russell Group universities in the United States, who are now sitting in Barbados because the university did not even tell them to return, write off the grades, ignore them. The Caville campus, against the odds, have been trying, doing its very best to put your education at the center and to ensure that you get that degree, because we believe that we will come through this pandemic and we want you to be qualified and educated and ready to assist Barbados and the region when we move beyond this. Nobody's making any pot of funds at Caville. Their staff members who are quietly contributing their book grants and other things to ensure that you get this education. So really step back. And for some of you who are Barbadian students or even the rest from the region, have you written to your governments and say, thank you for supporting me? For the Barbados government that is suffering from a rapid decline in tourism revenue. The unemployment rate in Barbados in January, February was about 9.5%. The unemployment rate in Barbados now is about 40%. The Prime Minister of Barbados and the government has not said to us, and we hope that it will not happen, Professor Barito, we cannot support the students at the Caville campus. Many persons are trying to assist you against the odds, in spite of the difficulties. So don't come over as if people here are trying to exploit you or are trying to rip you off. This is not what is happening. An increase of $10 does not give the campus any large set of money to do anything. And it has not been increased for a very long time. And again, it enables, last year, Ms. Loughton and her Guild Council did so many things to assist the students, providing scholarships, grants, I think food stuff and those kind of things. So please, please, catch yourself. Catch yourself. And with all the difficulties, I heard, why am I still paying amenities fees when I will be at so much inconveniences? For the person who is anonymous and asking that question, because you are a student of the Cable campus, but you do have a choice. You do have a choice. We want to educate you, and we want to work with you, and we want to bring out the very best in you. But the amenities fees is minor. It is minor in the overall scheme of things. And I really, as young Caribbean persons, I really want you again to appreciate how fortunate you are compared to persons in because the COVID pandemic didn't ask us if it is coming. It decided to come, and it didn't cherry pick. And all of us have to live with it and work with it. And the Cable campus is doing its very best. So if you don't want to pay amenities fees, you have a choice. If you are going to be a student of the Cable campus, you are going to pay amenities fees. And that amenities fees is minor to the quality of the degree that you will receive. And I hope that you recognize that a lot of your education is heavily subsidized, not only by the government of Barbados, for everyone. We give students from the region the Arthur Lewis scholarships to ensure that you have an opportunity to come here. And some of you also ask if you cannot come physically, and this is why we are trying very hard to do the dual, because for the ones who cannot come physically, but you are also receiving tuition, and the Arthur Lewis scholarship will help you in that regard. No student, we have a student hardship fund, and what we distributed from the hardship fund often is more than what students pay for the amenities fees. Because when you need assistance, we don't ask if and what. We assist our students, and we do it very quietly. So I need you to recalibrate and rethink. We can't, and the reason why we are, I said in my opening, we are governed by the National Health Emergency Act and Protocol of Barbados. The government of Barbados says the country is open. We cannot shut the campus down. But if we violate the conditions of that we are supposed to operate, the COVID task force can shut us down. But we're not going to allow that to happen, because we need some of you to be on the campus, and we need to offer that education. And 3 weeks of online learning is not the same thing as 13 weeks. Your lecturers and professors and admin and academic staff, they collectively have made great sacrifices to ensure that you get that education that you are receiving. So don't sneeze at that, and don't dismiss that. And do not carp about $10. Do not carp about it, because it is really making you look really unfortunate at this time. Every generation of students, we want the conditions on the campus to be better than the last generation. And so we have been working here. Last month, we had the unfortunate passing of our beloved former Prime Minister. And he was a great supporter of the Cable campus. And you know what he said when he was a student here in the late 60s, early 70s? He had to walk from Spicetown to Mile and a Quarter to get home at night because the bus service wasn't good. The national bus service has improved, and now we try to supplement that with shuttles. But we are not running a bus service in terms of competing with the Barbados Transport Board. We are providing assistance for students who need it, as we do in many areas. But if you don't want to pay the amenities fees, you have a choice. To be a member of the campus community, you have to pay the amenities fees. And the amenities fees provide money for the Guild of Students, as the president has said, to allow them to conduct many of their very valuable activities. And it provides a level of subsidy for the range of things that we offer, including the expansion to offer online. All last week, Mr. Innes and the persons doing classroom technology were sending me invoices to sign off for purchases for equipment to ensure that there's online delivery. And I didn't say, I still don't know where the money coming from. The amenities fees can't do it, but I'm signing it because it is necessary. So I hope that you are clear. The Caville campus is not reducing the amenities fees. The amenities fees was agreed last year. It is $10 a semester, less than 10 cents a day. And that continues. Thank you.
Yeah.
Professor Moore, I wanted to comment. I just want to reassure students that when we closed down in March, all of our services became available online. Since we've reopened, we have a booking system for insurance check collection. We have consultations with the career counselor. Psychological counseling has been made available, both part-time provision as well. There are disability services. There are academic support services. And given the experiences across the 3 months that we have had to deal with COVID-19 and the shutdown, we have seen an increase in the number of students who are requesting and accessing services. And so though those students might not be visible to you, students are using the services. We have tried to be responsive to listen to the needs of our students. There are various reports that indicate that students require additional psychological and wellness support. And in a response to that, we are making available this semester movement and yoga sessions and a wellness check-in where students can go into sessions to talk about managing themselves and wellness, mental health wellness. And those are open groups that are available to students, as well as, kind of really thinking about how we could develop capacity as people's issues are exacerbated by the conditions of, or the impact of COVID-19. So we're going to make available 2 psychoeducational groups facilitated by our part-time counselors in terms of anxiety and stress management groups, and those around identity and understanding self, as well as a walk-in session with the psychological counselor. So there's a dedicated period during the week for students to access just a walk-in with the counselor to just determine whether counseling is something they want to do or not. There are still available to students platforms which we offer online tools to foster career and professional development. The health insurance plan is a plan that students can access from anywhere they are located in the Caribbean, so across the region. So whether you are here in Barbados or Dominica or wherever, that still gives you access to health insurance coverage as well. I also hear students talking about the gym. The gym is, as the principal has indicated, that we would provide some information on that once it becomes, available. And then, of course, we have things like we're trying to build out a virtual community using a campus app. And all those amenities are, kind of an entire package that we offer to students. And I do hope that, for those of you who would not maybe have accessed these services, do know that students access these services and there is a high appreciation of them. And we encourage you to make use of them if you so need to.
Okay, thanks a lot. There is a question that gets, that seems to be repeated a number of times, so maybe I need to say it again. I mentioned earlier that the late fees will be reversed. Someone further asks if this would affect access to e-learning and other when other fees need to be paid. Again, the late fee for registration will be reversed, and this therefore will not affect your access to e-learning. If you have any issues accessing e-learning, you can visit the bursary and sign up for a payment plan. And that payment plan allows you to access your courses almost immediately. So we have provisions for most types of situations that students might find themselves in. Dr. Connell, there are a number of questions in relation to government quarantine facilities and high-risk areas. So I'll just maybe shoot 3 of these to you and then get back to some of the other areas. So where exactly are the government quarantine facilities for students arriving from high-risk countries?
There are 2 main categories. Government-approved quarantine centers. Each facility, and this is at Harrison Point. Sorry, at Paragon. The Paragon is there is Wi-Fi, there are basic supplies. I know the facility is comfortable. I should just say to you that across the entire social class state have been at Paragon. To pay and you want more luxurious accommodation with room service, then you can pay to have this at any of the government hotels. They're about currently, or maybe about 5 by now. I know is Worthing Court, it's called Pirates Inn. Those are also quarantine facilities. I want students to be quite clear on distinction between isolation, quarantine, and self-monitoring. People who are arriving from high-risk countries, you will kind of diverge into categories. Either your test is positive on arrival and you go into isolation, that's at Harrison's Point, or your test is negative, so you came with a negative PCR test, so you had one done here that is negative, but you still must go into quarantine. Quarantine is a legal entity. It is not a function of the university. So the university doesn't decide whether you go into quarantine or not. Technically, you're not released into the university community unless you've cleared quarantine. If you are coming from a medium risk country, currently the Barbados government recommends that you self-monitor, and there are various monitoring facilities that you can self-monitor at home if you are in that situation. Self-monitoring also requires that you have a PCR test done. Let me state here that any of the public health officers may say to anyone in any risk category, you need to be quarantined. It's not a kind of, oh, but they told me when I arrived I was self-monitor. Some results may show some elements of your travel history may be declared after, and which you may be required then to quarantine. Also, if you are thought not to be self-monitoring, or if you are not to be into the basic protocols, then you could be quarantined, mandatory quarantine at Paragon. So treat very carefully. The classification of quarantine is not one you want to be playing around with. There are rules around it. There are fines. Barbados plans to enforce it as the territories in the Caribbean and around the world.
I'd like to add. Dr. Whitney, I'll just say you and Dr. Connell will do the highly specified knowledge. I want to say, when you come from a high-risk country, you belong to the government of Barbados until they release you. If you come from any country and you're positive, you go to Harrison Point. If you come from a high-risk country, a country that is designated as high risk, and you test negative, you can go to Paragon or you can pay for the other facilities, but you are being quarantined. You are not, I want to reemphasize, you are not being self-monitored and calling in temperatures. We have some students who arrived earlier who were in the self-monitoring category, but out of an abundance of caution and a respect for the campus community that I outlined in my presentation, we decide that we will accommodate those students off campus so that they can, and they will rejoin us when they get a positive test. But the government did not say to those students, you are in quarantine. Because they would have gone on hall, we were saying, you're going to test after, let us make sure you get a negative. If these students are now arriving from a high-risk country, The government will not say you could self-monitor. The government will say you're going to Paragon if you're negative, or you could pay to go to these facilities, because the government treats you when you come from a high-risk country as different. So that's why I say it like that. You belong to the government when you come from a high-risk country. Now, some countries only change on the, was it today, Dr. Connell, when the category, the classification changed? Yes.
September 1st.
Right. So the Trinidadian students who got in before September 1st, they were treated as medium risk. If they were negative, the government would say, go and monitor. Some would go to their apartments, friends' house, their homes, whatever. Some were designated to come on the campus. We said, out of an abundance of caution, just in case you might test positive later, let us keep you off the campus. For the Trinidadian students who will arrive after today, the government will not say to you, go and self-monitor. The government is quarantining you, so you have to pay attention to what Dr. Connell just said, the distinction between self-monitoring, quarantining, and isolation, which is the positive test. But when you are self-monitoring and you're in a hotel, it's different to when you are quarantining in a hotel. You can get locked up if you violate. Well, I do know that there were expressions of concern around because we talk to the chief medical officer all the time. And this is what I mean by we operating under the National Health Emergency Act, in which the chief medical officer is specified in that act and give the government of Barbados wide-ranging powers. So if you don't abide, you can be arrested. But coming from a high-risk country, the government has to certify you can join the general population. Dr. Whitney Best?
Yes, thank you, Principal. Just want to add quickly that for persons who are interested in seeing the different designated holding and quarantine hotels, you can go to visitbarbados.org. They're actually listed there. If you go down to the frequently asked questions. And another comment is, yes, sometimes too, you may be even coming from a low risk country, but then if someone on the flight tests positive, your status might change in terms of how you are monitored. So you have to be mindful that things are fluid and a lot of factors have to come into play. So it's not just a matter of coming from a high risk country, it could be coming from a low risk country, but if there is someone on the flight who is positive and you're noted to be close to them or so on, you could also be placed in quarantine. So just be mindful of all of that.
Okay, I have a couple questions from Facebook. I'm going to read these two questions, which are very related. As a continuing FST student, when will we know which classes will be held online, from which we must attend face-to-face? And then we have a question regarding the Faculty of Humanities and Education. Will classes in the Faculty of Humanities and Education also be held online? So two very related questions.
Okay, I can start with the humanities and education. I think as Professor Justin Robin had indicated, basically lectures will be offered on online mode and face-to-face as well. It's tutorials which primacy will be given to online, but lectures, there'll be the dual mode, online and face-to-face. So there'll be that option.
Okay. Yeah. Dean Deputy.
Chair, it's the same with our faculty, and we will explain all of this at our orientation yesterday. As Dean Robinson said, the timetable is being rectified. So when that happens, they will see some online options. I was here looking at our timetable, and I do see them popping up. So it's the same thing as with the Dean of Humanities just said.
Okay. All right, great. Then there's another question regarding travel to Barbados. Dr. Connell, how do students go about getting the clearance certificate, especially for those who were put into quarantine upon entering Barbados within the past week?
So a condition of quarantine is that once you are okay to leave quarantine, you have to be issued a certificate. Now, I do understand that some people who have left quarantine and they've been told you can leave quarantine and they might not have collected their certificate. The fact that you are returning to or entering the campus community, the campus community requires that you show evidence that you have been deemed safe to leave quarantine. And therefore, you're meant to produce a quarantine certificate to Dr. Tanya Whitby Best. So the take-home message is, if you are told, well, you are free to go, make sure that you leave with your certificate. You know, we will not be calling the quarantine center because, again, it's a breach of confidentiality, and we cannot call and say, you know, so-and-so is there, and is it okay? Is it really okay for them to leave? We need the certificate, which can easily be emailed into, as Dr. Tanya Whitby Best had indicated.
Okay, thanks a lot. There are a couple of other questions in relation to online versus face-to-face. I'll just read them as they are written. All online courses were taken and we are left with face-to-face classes. Are you saying that the ones face-to-face we do not have to attend? I am a first year. And another thing, I have one class that has to be announced for date and time. So what will happen in that case? And if it clashes with another class that we already have?
I guess if I take a stab at that, so where the online sections are filled, if the student can indicate that to their relevant department, there is the capacity to expand the number of places in an online section with much less challenging than the face-to-face. So the answer to the student is that because the online section is filled does not mean that the student has to attend a face-to-face section, because that's a clear principle that we are abiding by, that except for pedagogical and other reasons, no one is going to be required to come to face-to-face, so that the online spaces would be expanded in those cases. Where there are things that are to be announced, those are some of the issues that are still being worked out, where sort of particularly places and so on are to be announced, that will be sorted out. And clashes are really normally dealt with via override requests and that information coming in so that we can resolve clashes.
Okay. All right, great. I think that cleared up a couple of questions that dealt with that same issue. Again, I guess, Prof. Lord, because your faculty is so large, there are a number of questions related to you. Pertaining to the Faculty of Social Sciences, in terms of course lectures and tutorials that have reached capacity, will there be more lectures and tutorials for students unable to register for such courses, whether online or face-to-face?
Well, I mean, one way in which we have intended to do this is to get some idea of the demand for additional lectures. Note that additional lectures, of course, come with a cost. So it's not easy to just say that we would put on additional sections, certainly not lecture sections. In relation to adding tutorials, this is, or well, not really adding tutorials. We can certainly expand tutorials, especially if you're talking online, as Professor Robinson indicated. And this is basically where we're at right now, though several, especially if you're talking level 1 courses, several level 1 courses and the faculty already have several sections intended to accommodate those who can take them during the day, and certainly for those who work during the day that prefer to do them after working hours, usually from 5 and onward. So usually we are able to accommodate such students. You had another part to that question, I believe, Prof. Moore.
I think you've covered most of it, though. I guess the essential question is if additional sections are going to be put on, or is simply if the online lecture is full,
Right.
what will happen?
But well, okay, let's put it this way, because, and again, this is just getting into the semantics of what they're seeing on CHOL, because every course is going to be delivered virtually as well. And I suppose one of the things that is causing that confusion is because sometimes it says online, and if it doesn't, of course, the implication is that it's face-to-face. I would recommend the student, if currently they're seeing an online section being full, I mean, they can register for a face-to-face class, because they said that class is still going to be offered virtually so that they would not be disadvantaged. So that would be my recommendation. Of course, the only challenge is that they may be taking the place of some person who may wish to actually attend that class face-to-face, but these are things that we can work out within the department or at the faculty level.
Okay, Dean, Deputy Dean, I have two questions for you back to back. Is the must-pass requirement lifted for this semester?
No, no, Chair, it is not lifted for this semester. That was done because of the emergency situation before, but normal requirements will be maintained this semester.
Okay.
So must pass will be maintained.
Okay, great. Another question from a student in the Faculty of Science and Technology. Will arrangements be made for FSD students who have labs and cannot make it to Barbados?
That depends on the discipline. A discipline like computer science has the labs online. Electronics is moving as many as possible online, but and chemistry has moved their lab courses to next academic year, next semester, sorry. But of course, biology has a problem. Biology labs require physical presence, and they're integrated in the courses. So it's simply not possible to have a virtual version of them. And in cases like that, the students are being advised accordingly, whether it is a problematic at level 1 and prelim, and they're being advised accordingly whether they need to take a leave of absence or do other courses in the interim, and we see how it goes. But clearly we can't predict how the pandemic will go.
Great, thanks a lot. I guess this one is and for all of the deans. Our override is going to be finished by next Friday, the 11th, so that I would be able to attend class on the 14th of September.
Deputy Principal, sorry, go ahead, Nicole, go ahead.
Thanks, Troy. So DP, so certainly my understanding is that we are working with that deadline in mind, and that is what I've been advising students. So I give you my commitment, those of you in law, that we will certainly ensure that the overrides are processed by Friday next week.
Thank you. Prof. Lord, you want to say something?
Sure. The only thing I just wanted to just clarify, it may have been already sent. Normally in previous years or previous semesters, there would be a deadline by which students could apply for an override. I'm not sure if this next Friday is the deadline to apply or the deadline for which we have to do overrides. But I'll take what we've normally done. Usually the deadline for students to apply for an override is week 1, which means if it comes in on Friday, naturally it can't be processed on the same day. So, but I would say certainly within a week of an application being made, it would be processed at the department or faculty levels. And the process is then that, you know, they would be handled at admissions office, but students need not fear. I mean, it's a priority certainly, and we are going to make every effort to attend to the issue quickly.
Okay. And just as a follow-up, yes, please.
Also, if I may add, in the Faculty of Humanities and Education, as I indicated earlier, we have already identified the relevant AAs who will be handling matters pertaining to overrides, so that as they come in, they'll be dispatched immediately, so to speak.
Thank you very much.
May I also make a comment on the Faculty of Culture, Creative and Performing Arts? We
Yes,
also
please.
have our Senior Administrative Assistant who will be coordinating with the heads of departments in matters of overrides. So pretty much like the Faculty of Humanities and Education, we have put that in place, so we are all ready to go.
Great. All right. There's another question in relation to overrides from YouTube again. How will we know if the override request has been approved? Will we receive an email, or do we just have to keep checking our schedule to see if it has been updated?
DP, you want me to take? I can answer that.
Definitely. Sure.
Sure. So the system, how they certainly, assuming we're using the same system, which I imagine we would be, the system actually automatically generates a response. So once I click on the box saying approved, an email is immediately generated that says to you, your request for override has been approved. And similarly, if it's been declined, an email is immediately generated, and I just hit send and that goes to you. So just sort of linking back into the earlier discussion that we had about the importance of checking your My Cave Hill email account, because obviously the campus would be set up, that system would be set up to be contacting you in your campus official account.
Okay, great. Any other comments? No? All right. Dean, Deputy Dean, this one is for you. As a new student in the Faculty of Science and Technology, how will I know what courses to register for if I have not been assigned a faculty advisor?
Yes, each student is assigned an academic advisor, but that obviously depends on us having a final list to do so. That will be done shortly. But having said that, for this academic year and previous years, we do have an appointment system where students can contact the department and seek advice through the head of department's office, and then they'll be sent to the relevant lecturer.
Okay. Great. There's a question here about the Give Back program. Hopefully Ramel or Dale can address this question. How can working persons complete the Give Back program when it is only on Monday or Friday? And particularly the student goes on to say students are working full-time and have children and other daily commitments. So any comments or response to that?
I'll take the question. The expectation again, let me reiterate, is that all persons who have opted to undertake studies funded by the Barbados government are required to give back those hours. There is the option to opt out, and details of that is on the website, the Give Back program website. But also, I think students have the option of selecting their volunteer service, and I believe that that service spans the weekend as well. And if they can go to the site, they will probably be in a position to see what opportunities are there.
Okay.
So to say there's also an opt-out provision, which is detailed on that website as well.
Thank you very much. There is a question coming from YouTube again. Are exams going to be online or face-to-face? This is one that I can handle. We're going to be using a combination of online and face-to-face testing. In semester 2, when we had the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to transition to emergency online assessments. This semester, we're sort of planning from in front, and we have a little bit more time to plan our assessments. So we will be using both online assessments, and we have the graduation tent available to us. So we can also do face-to-face testing as well. So your classes will be utilizing a combination of face-to-face or online testing. Obviously, if you are not in Barbados at this time, your classes will, and you took the course, your classes would have to utilize the online assessment mode of testing because we wouldn't want one student to be doing face-to-face and another student doing online testing. So once we have a student in a class that is taking the class using the online mode, that class immediately would have to be assessed using online mode of testing. There are, however, some classes, as the principal would have mentioned, that simply cannot be taught online. These are in the Faculty of Science and Technology, where students have to do labs, in the Faculty of Medical Sciences, where there are also labs as well. Those types of classes have to be taught in a face-to-face format, and we expect those students to be in Barbados at the KFIL campus to take those classes. Your lecturers are going to provide you a bit more details on the assessments that will be utilized. But one of the things that I can say, particularly to first-year students, there's really nothing to fear about the online assessments. We found that students last semester actually preferred the online assessments, and the performance using the online assessments were actually quite good. We had an increase in the number of students receiving A's using online assessments. So our faculty did put in a lot of effort in relation to generating some very innovative approaches to testing students online. But this semester we have we've started planning from ahead, so we're going to be utilizing both face-to-face and online. There are principal.
Yeah, I want to come over you because I find the students always like a lot of reinforcement. It reminds me of my teaching days. And in terms of what you have said, I'm just emphasizing, once the class is delivered dual or hybrid, online and face-to-face, then the assessment has to be online to accommodate the students who only took the course online. So I don't want any students to get bent out of shape. Well, I ain't here, I this and that. Once there's going to be a uniform form of assessment. However, there are going to be a few classes that may be only face-to-face and where everyone is here. Only in those cases will the assessment would be face-to-face, but we will know, your lecturers will know, and you will know. So you can think of it generally as the assessment being online, unless the class is exclusively face-to-face for whatever reasons. But do not think, 10 of us online and 20 face-to-face, and what's going to happen to me? We are going to have a common form of assessment, as the deputy principal has said. But as he has also pointed out, we have done it already because we did it at the end of the last semester, and we know how to do it. And the examination schedule will be the same whenever it is timetabled and so on. So you will have enough information upfront to inform you what in fact will happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Principal. Prof. Robinson, this one I think you can clear fairly quickly. We're confused because they meaning the courses don't have the word online in the title. And most of the courses that do are closed, and most have been since Wednesday. Any response to that?
Well, from the Faculty of Culture, Creative and Performing Arts, we don't have the designation of online classes, but we have already communicated to our students that our preferred mode of presentation is face-to-face because of the specialization areas. However, we are accommodating the hybrid pattern as well. So we don't have to indicate that on the actual courses.
Okay, great. Prof. Robinson? You're muted.
Yeah, sorry, as I would have shared the screen earlier, quite a large number of lecture sections. The online lecture sections are labeled, there is the online label on them. And all tutorials are online except for those specific pedagogical instances. So I don't know if that helps to clear up the confusion.
Okay.
DP?
Yes, please.
not online, but there was an earlier question about what are the registration fees for the per semester. So I asked the bursar, and he said registration fees per semester is $540, which includes $60 for guild fees. There's a $30 fee for student cards, which are student cards for first year students.
Thank you very much, Principal. There's another follow-up question as well. I'm not sure if the registrar can help. What is the deadline for registration fees to be paid?
Yes, the deadline for registration fees will be the 18th of September. And remember that the semester, when the semester starts, you have 3 weeks in which to add or drop courses to make changes, and then registration would close. So that you want to make sure that you pay your fees and select your courses. Currently, you can select your courses even before you pay your fees. But remember that to avoid any to avoid being locked out of the system or anything like that, if you can't pay the fees up front, contact the bursar for a payment plan.
Mm-hmm. Great. I guess this next question is for all of the deans. Will classes be recorded and available for viewing at a later time?
Okay, I will maybe start. So certainly based on the technology that we have, which as Professor Robinson would have indicated is Blackboard Collaborate and Zoom. You know that both Blackboard Collaborate and Zoom have a recording function, and it's our intention that we would record and make the recordings available to students, certainly for the law faculty.
Thank you. Any other dean wants to chime in?
I think the same would apply to the Faculty of Humanities and Education, since that facility will be available. So why not? We'll use it.
Yeah, we also concur in the Faculty of Social Sciences. The facilities are there for recording. They're embedded in e-learning, which means as soon as you click start, you click stop, the recording will be available within a minute of that class ending. So the students will have it right away.
The same
Chair?
applies,
Yes.
sorry.
Go ahead.
The same applies to the Faculty of Culture, Creative and Performing Arts. We have recording facilities in the film area, and our technology labs can handle the recording ideas very well in the classroom. So we can provide that for the students.
Same for the Faculty of Science and Technology, as the other deans have said.
For faculty medical, but students must always remember, there's always a temptation to put it off for later, and sometimes later never comes. So you should try and keep up to date as far as possible.
Okay, there's another question from the Zoom. Are there going to be any more flights for students unable to get to Barbados from Trinidad? And what I will encourage you to do is send an email to my office, deputyprincipal@kphil.ue.edu, and I will add you to the list. Essentially, what we've been doing is that we've been sending the list of students to Cal, and Cal has then been contacting the students. I do hope that you're listening very carefully to what Dr. Connell said. Trinidad is now classified as a high-risk jurisdiction by the Barbados authorities. So when you arrive in Barbados, you will now be subject to the national protocols for high-risk jurisdictions. The link, if you want to take a look at that, you can take a look at our COVID-19 website and see the national protocols for high-risk jurisdictions. But I encourage any Trinidadian students on the call tonight to just send an email to deputyprincipal@kphil.ue.edu. Dr. Connell, do you want to add anything?
Sure, DP. I just wanted to add, because there's still some confusion about who has the ultimate authority to decide on quarantine. So if you come in from a medium risk country, and for some reason the health authorities are suspicious about whether you're going to remain in self-monitoring or whether you're going to follow certain protocols, the safety officer, the public health officers can determine that you must adhere to quarantine. So it doesn't matter. So we know that yes, all high-risk students from all high-risk countries must be in quarantine. But if you are from another risk country and for any reason, you could be deemed by the public health officials that you are in quarantine, you cannot argue and say, well, I am not high risk, therefore I am not doing quarantine. That is against the public health laws of Barbados. You can be directed to be quarantined.
And DP, just to reinforce what Dr. Connell has said, and the campus cannot intervene. I remember about a week ago, some students had written to us from Trinidad and asked us if we could help them get a flight. And I wrote to the Minister of National Security, remember that? And we started and he said a flight would be organized. Quarantine and health risk are two different things, and the government is in charge. If whether you're medium risk, you could, as Dr. Connell said, you could come from medium risk and the health authorities decide, you know what, we don't feel comfortable, we need you in quarantine. The campus does not have a say in it. That is why I spoke earlier that we are living under the National Health Emergency Act. That overrides all the legislation in Barbados at this point in relation to this. And until the government had put it on for a period and they have extended it. So we like the fact, as the Dean said, Dean Adams said, you know, Barbados is one of the safest places to be. The surveillance and tracing is very strong and stringent, and they want to keep it that way. But at the same time, people can become complacent and almost forget. We cannot afford to forget at Cable because we represent a unique environment, a learning community, a residential community, an employment community. And each one of us here, the principal, the gardener, a dean, each one of us here, if we are irresponsible, can cause COVID to come on the campus. A student can cause COVID to come on the campus, and a dean and the principal could cause COVID to come on the campus. So we each have to do our part to maintain the campus as is. But the reason that we are going through all of this is because we are trying very hard to continue your education. That is what we are trying to do, to continue your education. So because we are going to get behind COVID, not now, not immediately, because the international countries are even behind. They're in great trouble. But we know that we will get behind COVID sometime. And I want, when this passes the region, you have your degree in hand. So you have to help us to help you. All of us, none of us want to get it, and we don't want you to get it. The health authorities, as Dr. Connell has said, the Ministry of Health and Wellness will determine whether or not you go into quarantine. And when they do that, the principal cannot intervene on your behalf. That is, and especially coming from high risk, you belong to the government until you are cleared. So I think we need to internalize that. For all our dear Trinidadians, Cable students who are down there, and we want you to be back up here, be prepared when you land. If you're positive, and I hope you're not, if you're positive, you will go into the isolation center. If you're negative, you're going into a period of quarantine, and one of the approved government facilities, one is free and the rest you have to pay for. But be prepared that once you land, you will be facing quarantine if you are negative. If you're positive, you're facing isolation. And there is no choice in that. Barbados diplomatic representative, ambassador to the United Nations, she came into Barbados, she was positive, she was in isolation at Harrison's Point. So there's no kind of favoritism here. This is what has happened. So it's not that the campus abandoned you, this is what you will face. But we would love you to be negative and to only have to do 7 days quarantine, then get a negative test and get your certificate and join the campus community. But the certificate is in the hands of the government of Barbados.
Okay, thanks a lot, Principal. Colleagues, allow me the opportunity to just clear up some questions that keep reemerging. I guess students are joining the session at different times. So I'll just clarify some of these questions for these students. Students were led to believe that blended learning meant that classes would be made available both online and face-to-face. However, after CRNs were finally put up and registration began, it would seem that we were mistaken. So can the university please clarify what they meant by blended learning? So again, as was mentioned by all of the deans, except for those lectures or those classes in the Faculty of Medical Sciences or classes in the Faculty of Science and Technology, where there are labs, all of the classes will be offered both in a face-to-face or totally online environment. So yes, we would have a blended learning format for courses this semester. For students who are unable to register for their courses, will help be given. So Mr. Keith Innes from campus, from SITS mentioned that you can simply go on the SITS website and they have, you can email your requests or you can, there's a live help that is available to students that would help you with your registration. Will students be allowed to register for classes when then allowed to pay for registration, or will it have to be paid first? If you're having issues with your with paying your fees, please go to the bursary and sign up for a payment plan. There's just a number of questions that are pretty much the same. Let me just look at the YouTube questions. This one is, again, I guess for all of the deans. Since the timetable is supposed to be updated, will students be required to register for courses again? Keith or Justin, do you want to tackle this one?
I can add to that. The schedule is going to be updated. A lot of those TDA things will be adjusted. So students will continue. I don't think you have to register again. So you can continue to complete your registration and you may be able to make changes. The add drop period is going to be available, I think, until the 18th. So you can still continue your registration. You don't have to restart it unnecessarily.
Okay. I have another question from a level 1 student. Since level 1 students are not required to attend face-to-face classes, does this mean it is possible to register for online foundation courses, even though the status for those courses are saying closed or full?
Yes, if I may respond to that. I think the first part of that question is that, okay, even at level 1, a student, since the mode of teaching is blended, that is online and face-to-face, even at level 1, a student could choose either to attend the lecture face-to-face or online. Now, I think with the foundation courses, if at all you cannot register, then it would mean that you can get in touch with the faculty office or the Department of Language, Linguistics, and Literatures for assistance. Okay. Either the Dean's office or the Department of Language, Linguistics, and Literatures for assistance.
Okay, thanks a lot. Again, we've mentioned this before, but I'll just clear up this question. For the Faculty of Law, will final exams be online as they were last semester, or will they be conducted in person on campus? I think I cleared this up a bit earlier. If there are no students in the class taking this class using the online route, the lecturer could utilize face-to-face testing for the course. But once there are students taking this class using online teaching or some type of hybrid mode, the assessment for that class will be online. And I'm sure Dean Foster is already planning for the various online assessments for faculty. This is an interesting one. Have the virtual orientation sessions previously held, have they been recorded? And if yes, can we share that on our website?
Certainly the law faculty's orientation was recorded and the link was shared with the first year students as of yesterday.
Okay.
And just to quickly add, I'm sorry, I had my mic muted on the assessments. It is highly likely that all of our assessments will be online because they are there's really no course that has to be taught in a face-to-face format. And so we are anticipating that pretty much all of our classes will have at least one student online, which means we would have to offer it then in online format.
Thanks a lot, Dean.
And I also want to add to that. Also, our session was recorded, I believe, and is therefore available. However, I want to add that in case there are any student who missed that session, then he could get in touch with the faculty office or the relevant department so that he could be or she could be counseled before registering.
Okay. There was another person that
Chair?
wanted to.
Chair?
Yes, Dean.
Just to say two things. Our foundation course in science and technology was revamped a couple of years ago, and it was when it was, it's through BUS, Board of Undergraduate Studies, and when it was done, so it became online. So it has been online for a year or so. With respect to the recordings, we will get them up, but right now we do have on our website, I did a recording going through all the things that would have been discussed at orientation in more detail. It's about half hour long, so it's there available on the website for students who missed the orientation. And we're trying to get a few other things online as well. So it's there.
Thank you. Dean Combo.
Oh, no, I just wanted to say that for the Faculty of Culture, Creative and Performing Arts, a lot of exams will really be on face-to-face because that's the pedagogy that's preferred in some of the specialized areas, for example, dance. However, there will be accommodations for students who prefer to have a lot of work provided online. But more than 50%, I would say 80% will be a face-to-face examination situation.
Okay. We had one question that was asked a number of times on YouTube. Will students finishing this semester be able to graduate in January? Principal, you're muted.
What I will say is that it's certain is worth looking at, and we always do our level best to accommodate our students. So if the students finish everything, this is really an area for the registrar and admissions, but I would say that we are very much in favor in assisting the students in graduating. So if they finish by this first semester and graduation is January 16th, I think, I don't know if the students know this, that the graduation is January 16th, 2021. Then we would do our best to facilitate their graduation. Registrar?
Yes, Principal, it all depends on the ability of the campus to turn around the results for semester one.
Right.
And then have those results confirmed.
Right.
Enough time to be able to facilitate the attendance at graduation.
Yeah, but if it can be done, we would facilitate you because technically you are in a new academic year, and the graduation that is happening in January would have been the graduation that would have happened in October. But we wanted, we lobbied in terms of the regional meetings that K-ville and all, it turned out everybody agreed to it, that so there's no UE graduations in October. But K-ville very early said, we don't know what the first semester of the academic year would look like, and we want to concentrate on getting through the semester. So let's have graduation between the two breaks. But as the registrar said, if it can be turned around and facilitated, we certainly would do that.
Okay. This one is for Dean Adams and maybe Prof. Robinson. Most of the Faculty of Medical Sciences courses are clashing, and many of these classes are scheduled to be online. Is it recommended that we register for overrides, or will the dates change, be changed by admin?
MBBS, it wasn't specified. No classes will clash because all classes are mandatory from year 1 to year 5. So they
okay.
National Health Sciences, it could be a little bit of a care of, yeah.
Okay, so that clears it up. Thatcher, you wanted to make an intervention?
Yes, I have 2 questions on behalf of the students, but I want to clear something first. I'm not sure if these students are coming in late. Yes, I'm not sure if they're coming in late as it relates to the amenities fees if they just joined the live. But may I say, I will not be fighting for the school to take away the amenities fees, and that is final. As Guild President, may I say this again so who hear it can pass it on. I will not be fighting for the amenities fees to be taken away. Now I see students texting that, yes, I was elected to act in the interest of the students, and I always do that. But as a student leader, I must be able to weigh the pros and the cons, and I fight for what is right. And when it is time to fight, I always fight. My students who knows me know that. I see one student from West Africa converting the amenities fees to his or her currency. No, that's really not my problem. And the principal would have gone ahead and explained why the amenities fees are important. It's not like the campus can take away from half and have half paying it. So everybody must pay it. It is very important. And I feel like I will actually put out an advisory from the Guild of Students with your permission, Deputy Principal, as it relates to the amenities fees, because I'm not going to sit down and bear the burden of not lobbying for the campus to take away the amenities fees. The principal can tell the students of the Caveville campus that I was the only Guild President who stood up in finance and general purpose meeting at the UWI Mona campus for the alumni not to put on that percentage on your school fees this semester for the Pelican Perks. And I am the only Guild President because I'm the only person who's against that fee. That is why it is not imposed on your amenities this semester. So I have fought a good fight. And when it's time to fight, I really fight. The principal can tell you that I am the Guild President who the alumni is not in favor of at this point, because I decided that my Caveville campus students are not going to dig in their pockets to pay for anything for the alumni. They must pay for our students. We're not going to pay for them. In following up, I'm following up on the undergrad acceptances, Professor. I'm not sure if Timothy could respond to that. There are students who are still at least applied in June and still waiting on an acceptance letter. Can the school at least say to them, you have been denied or you have been accepted? They just want to know. Also, students would have asked about the trouble paying the fees. And again, you would have said to them, the school is not difficult. The school bends back a little bit at times. Well, not a little bit, bends back all the times. You can actually go on a payment plan. So the school is not saying, go thief, go find all the school fee one time. Yes, they want it for the camp in order for the campus to operate, but you can go online and book a payment plan, as well as you can visit the account section and have them prepare a payment plan for you.
If Ms. Loughton, before the others reply, I really want to say that, in fact, the reason why none of the students at the University of the West Indies, not only the Caveville campus, why they do not have a mandatory $10 a fee per year for 3 years is again because, as Ms. Loughton said, she was the only Guild President that did not agree that the Pelican Perks, which is something that students, current students, donate $10 per year for 3 years to support alumni activities. I did not support it, and I said I figured that the alumni should come up with money, and I did not support it. And it was that it wasn't for me to decide, it was for the presidents of the guilds. Well, as Ms. Loughton said, she was the only president of the guild who did not sign off on it, and as a result, it was not introduced. So I really have to support her there because she did not, she fought in several meetings not to have that mandatory $10, which would be $30 each student would have had to pay, and the money would go to the UE Alumni Association. And so yes, she fought that on your behalf. And you don't have to believe Ms. Loughton or I. You can get the minutes of the University Finance and General Purposes Committee, and you will see it recorded there. DP, she had some other questions.
Yes, please. There is one comment that I actually wanted to read here that I found quite interesting. I don't envy you, administration. This looks like this will be quite the undertaking with COVID in play. I pray it goes well. So thank you very much. I really appreciate those sentiments. We're going to be wrapping up very soon. We only have a couple more minutes.
The principal, sorry to cut, there were 2 questions in the chat that I noticed that were directed to law.
Right. So what I'm going to do is allow each of the deans to make a final comment, okay? So I'll go around and allow the deans and all of the members of the panel to make any final comments in regards to any questions that they actually wanted to address. So I'll first start with the principal and then I'll come to the deans.
Yes, I think something I said when I was given an example, a student from Trinidad and Tobago may have misunderstood. Let me say, again, you might be a new student. The Caville campus loves and appreciates all of its students wherever they come from. I love the fact that we have students from Trinidad and Tobago. I love the fact that we have students from the region. The reason I was using Trinidad and Tobago as an example, it wasn't to call attention to you and make you uncomfortable. I would never do that. It is because we have a flight with students coming, and I don't want you to be caught by surprise. But the Caville campus loves the regionality of the campus. It loves the fact that we have students from across the region and even internationally. We love the fact that we are getting students from Africa. We welcome that. So please, if you misunderstand, I would never say anything to make anyone feel uncomfortable. That is not the style or the ethos of the Caville campus. And if that in fact happened, I give you my sincere apology because I do not want you to feel uncomfortable or being singled out in any form. And I welcome this opportunity to speak with you. And I mean, all of you know, and I want to assure you that the Caville campus cares about your well-being, cares about your academic and your intellectual growth and your social growth, everything. And we really, truly regret that you cannot experience the campus this semester in the way you would have if we did not have COVID. COVID has changed the complexion of the activities we can have, but at least you can be on the campus for those of you who could be here. So I look forward to meeting some of you and for others to welcoming you back. Thank you very much.
Thatcher? Thatcher, are you ready to make your final comments? Okay, we'll probably, yes?
Yes, Prof. Yes, Prof.
Okay. Yes, you're ready?
My internet
Oh,
just
okay.
went out a while ago. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying that I just want the students to know that, yes, the Guild of Students, we have their interests at heart. We will always represent them at all levels, whether it's internationally or nationally. We always go to admin as long as they have a question for us to clear. all my 25 counselors are returning to campus. They're returning to Barbados. And so this week, I'm going to ensure that I at least put out a document with the emails of the Guild counselors so students can actually contact them directly. I will also have office hours. The vice president will also have office hours. Our faculty representatives will also have office hours. We have an exciting week coming up as it relates to Freshers Week, so students can look out for that. Yes, and basically the Guild of Students, we are around to assist, we're around to help. We're just the same. It's just that most of what we're gonna do now is gonna be a little bit more virtual than actually face to face. So the Guild president is there to represent you all. Do not be afraid to contact me, whether via WhatsApp or email. I am open. I am always ready to assist.
Thank you very much, Tasha. Nicole?
Thank you, Deputy Principal. I just wanted to take the opportunity to answer a question quickly that I had seen in the chat. There was a question saying that the courses that were listed in the faculty handbook, that there are courses on the website that are not in the faculty handbook or vice versa, I'm not sure. And the person was unclear therefore about what courses, this is the first year. There are 6 courses that you register for in first semester. This is the introduction to argument, foundation 1004. You also do Caribbean civilization, science, medicine, and technology, and then 3 law courses, which is law and legal systems, criminal law 1, and legal methods, research, and writing. What I would ask is if you are still unclear, you can reach out certainly to myself in the faculty, and I can clarify any further uncertainty you have. In addition, on the faculty website, since before registration started, since before the 24th, in fact, I would have posted my dean's address, which includes details of everything involved in the LLB program, including what your first semester is supposed to look like, whether you're a regular first year student or a direct entrant. So you have multiple resources that you can utilize, but please feel free. I am always there. If you want to speak with me and just clarify what you're to be registering for, you can just shoot me an email and I will respond promptly. Thank you very much, and welcome once again to everyone to the Cave Hill campus, and a special welcome to my new law students as well as our continuing ones.
Okay, thank you very much, Dean Foster. Dean Okombo?
Yes, returning students and new students. Human beings are endowed with creative minds. And so in our Faculty of Culture, Creative and Performing Arts, we exploit that mantra. We shall be creative and we shall help you utilize your creative minds to solve problems. Problems are part of our universal existence. So don't be afraid. Just come on and you will be all right. You will be in good hands with our faculty who are very mentoring and caring. So come on out, we are waiting for you. Thank you.
Dean Lord?
Wow, I have to come after Dean Combo. Nonetheless, I'm gonna try my best. I will first of all just deal with some issues I just want to clear up. The first is that I want to also just make a correction. When I spoke earlier, I mentioned that what we'll be doing in the faculty, we'll be recording our lectures. I do want to say though that for the Department of Government, Sociology, Social Work, and Psychology, there are going to be some disciplines where they're not going to do this because of the sensitivity of the matters that will be discussed during the lecture. For example, in social work, psychology, and political science, the nature of the discussions may tend to in a direction perhaps where recording is not wise for those courses. So I just want to make that correction. One issue I saw in the chat, there was a question about in the economics department about courses not having tutorials listed. But I want to mention these courses that you see there they're not to be listed under semester 1. So those are some timetabling issues that have to be cleaned up. Those courses are actually semester 2 courses. I've been through the entire list just to make sure. So all of those courses for which you cannot register, indeed, they're not to be listed on semester 1. again, I mentioned it before, but I will say that we have had several new acceptances since orientation last Monday. And what we will do is I will hold a mini orientation next week. I'm going to perhaps lean towards Tuesday, but that will be announced and emails will be sent out to students. That'll be very short. And what we intend to do, given that we have new acceptances and that classes have been pushed back 1 week, the start of classes, is we're perhaps going to have to continue doing our one-on-one advising, and we're going to do this primarily in an online mode. We may hold 1/2 day each department, but that will be discussed with the heads. But we probably will have to continue doing our advising sessions. And I believe that wrapped up the issues that I want to just mention there. And finally, again, as the Dean of the largest faculty, I want to reiterate that we are dedicated to your future. I heard Dean Nicombo mentioning the issue of creativity and so forth. I want to say, yes, the Faculty of Social Sciences is also creative. We are committed to a culture of excellence. And thank you, DP and Principal, for allowing me the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Faculty of Social Sciences.
Many thanks, Prof. Lord. Dean Adams?
Yes, thank you. Well, I'd just like to tell our new MBBS welcome. It's worldwide medical condition. You're joining the right field, medicine, and your start of your career has always been marked by COVID. The start of my career many years ago was marked by the origins of the identification of HIV. So when I was in preclinical, it didn't quite yet. And of course, that was a serious infection. And look where we've come. So you're going to look at careers later on like me and say what we have done with COVID. Now, don't fear, you have questions. And medical faculty holds a 2-week orientation. We'll do it online for you, in person. It allows us to be active, for you to ask questions, and get to know some of your new classmates, even who you have not met before. For our classes, even if you're going to record them, we have a policy of monitoring attendance at classes. So you can have 10 classes as well, but attendance requirement. Same thing for clerkships and everything you do through medical school. So good luck to you and returning students. But some of our students are ready and we've been teaching continuously for our clinical students. So good luck and looking at the new students.
Many thanks, Dean Adams. Prof. Ochieng Odiambo.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Now, the students have been told that the other faculties deal so much with creative thinking, right? Which is fine. But the Faculty of Humanities and Education is actually the backbone of the university. It's the heartbeat of the university. For you to be creative, you must be humane first. And that's the essence of the faculty. Having said that, now 2 matters. Now, for the students of the Faculty of Humanities and Education, I want to reiterate the fact that if and when they have any issues, whether pertaining to registration for their courses or otherwise, they should feel free to consult me at the faculty office. The faculty office is open most of the time, and we are very accommodative. We have a very good working staff. Secondly, I want to say one word about the foundation English courses. Those courses are foundational, but from past experience, we've had problems with some students who usually do them during their final year when they're about to graduate, which defeats the whole purpose of the courses, right? So I want to reiterate to students of Faculty of Humanities and Education that during their first semester, their first year, during level 1 is when they're supposed to fulfill those foundation courses. That's why I was a bit concerned when one of the students said that he or she could not register in those courses. That is something I'll look into, because you are all supposed to do them, register for those foundation courses during your level one. Now, to conclude, I want to wish you all the very best in your studies and have a wonderful year. Kila laheri na shukran. Over to you, Dean.
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Dean. Dean, Deputy Dean?
Thank you, Chair. I'm afraid I only know English, so I will speak in English. But nevertheless, just 2 points, quick point. With respect to the orientation and so on, some students were asking if they've missed it, what to do. Just be assured that each department and the faculty office has mechanisms in place to book an appointment online or via phone or email. So, and this is not new, we've always done this. With respect to the labs, I just want to assure everyone that we have done everything possible to move as many labs virtually. Our academic staff have moved some labs virtually in a faster time using technologies probably others haven't thought of using than many other richer universities would have struggled with. And I could say that without sounding like I'm exaggerating. But having said that, some of the labs would require, to move them online would require technology that does not exist. And therefore we can't do much about it yet. I'm sure we will come up with the technology through our research. But on a more serious note, there's just some labs that we just can't do anything about it because the technology simply does not exist. But I will end by saying that, you know, one of the greatest things about this campus is that every faculty is going to instill you problem solving, creativity, innovation, you name it. We have many overlaps, we have many cross linkages, and you are assured, as our principal always says, you will get the best experience possible under this pandemic. And this pandemic will not defeat the Cave Hill campus or any student within it. We will not let a virus with a bad attitude come in and mess up our plans. So that's how I will end by saying, and I wish you all good luck. Forward to seeing you all. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. There are just a couple of things that I'd like to say in wrapping up. I know we got through a number of questions this evening, but we didn't get through all of the questions. So again, thank you for posting your questions both on Zoom and YouTube. But quite kindly note that any questions that were not answered during our Q&A section will be compiled and documented on our COVID-19 website with the relevant responses. And that website is www.kphil.uwi.edu/COVID-19. And you can get answers to any questions that we weren't able to cover this afternoon. In addition to that, if you go on the CIRU Instagram page, Pat, after you could correct me if I'm wrong, there's a really great Q&A document that I encourage you to take a look at, which covers a number of the queries that we would have had this evening. Please take advantage of your academic advisors. You should have been allocated an academic advisor no matter what faculty you're in. So you can email your academic advisor to get any of the questions that you have addressed. Keith Innes from SITS would have mentioned that there's a live talk feature to address any of your campus IT issues. And the only thing I'm left to say then is thank you very much for joining us this evening. This would not have been a success without you students. Thank you all for joining us on Zoom as well as YouTube. Thank you to all of the members of my panel that made it a very informative session. And I wish you all the best for the upcoming semester. Please have a safe semester. Good night.
For those of you traveling, travel safely. And everyone be safe.
Yes.
Thank you, Principal.
Thanks, you too, Principal.
Bye.
Evening all.
Thank you, Deputy Principal. Thank you, Principal. Thank you, Deans.
Excellent job of chairing, Deputy Principal. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night and goodbye.
Good night, everyone.